Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the Prescott City Council Planning Commission to order. It is Monday, March 2nd at 6 o'clock. Do a roll call. Dave?
Here.
Mike?
Here.
Kate?
Here.
Bailey?
Here.
Josh? Here. Steve?
Here.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is approved Planning Commission minutes from February 2nd.
Make a motion?
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the Planning Commission minutes. Any discussion on the motion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the public hearing for the Bluffs at 1452 Glen Ridge Drive.
Make a motion to open the public hearing?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to open the public hearing. Is there any discussion on the motion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, first item is the public hearing regarding amending the City of Prescott official zoning map for a planned unit development overlay at 1452 Glen Ridge Drive. Luke?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Plan Commission. So I just have some information here about the Bluffs proposal here, the site plan, and then the overall zoning information. So the Bluffs is being proposed over at 1452 Glen Ridge Drive. This is a parcel of land located near Dexter Street and Glen Ridge Drive. The total site is a total of 3.52 acres. It's currently vacant. It consists of shrubs and trees. Currently, it is zoned as an R4 high-density residential. The applicant, Capital Investment Partners, is seeking a planned unit development overlay on top of this R4 high-density residential to accommodate for 3 principal structures instead of 1 and 4 accessory structures instead of 2. So for this proposal, there will be 3 principal buildings and 4 accessory structures for a total of 106 dwelling units. It will have a 3, 2, and 1 bedroom mix for a total of 151 bedrooms. For the 3 buildings, the west side will have 24 units, the middle building will have 40 units, the east 42 units. And again, the PUD is requested for this one because the R4 zoning currently limits allowed principal structures to use just 1 principal structure, and then allowed accessory structures to just 2. So for context, the accessory structures would be the garages along the north side of the property here. So these would be 4 garages, and then the 3 principal structures would be the 3 apartment units here on this part of the property. And then as a part of this planned unit development, there is no other zoning relief requested. Everything else does meet the R4 high density zoning requirements. So in terms of the site plan review, looking at the setbacks of the property, the front and the street side setbacks, because this is a corner lot, they are required to meet it, both of the same setbacks on the street. So they are both required on Dexter and Glen Ridge to have 20 feet setbacks. Capital Investment Partners is proposing 25 feet, which is compliant. And then on the side, so these are all the lot lines that are not facing the street sides. They are required to have a 12-foot setback on these. Capital Investment Partners for the principal structures are proposing setbacks of over 25 feet on these side property lines. On the accessory interior side lot lines, so on these same ones that are on the side ones not facing the street, it is required to have a 5-foot setback for accessory structures. Capital Investment Partners is proposing a 5-foot setback for these accessory structures, which is compliant. And then with the height, the R4 zoning requires buildings to be restricted to 4 floors. The Bluffs is proposed to be 3 floors, which is in a total of 49 feet tall. And then also, the site is required to have an impervious surface of 70% or less. Capital Investment Partners is proposing 65.3% for that. So these are all compliant with the R4 high-density zoning regulations. In terms of parking, as per Chapter 635-55 parking requirements, multifamily dwellings are required to provide 1 stall for each bedroom. So for this one, there is a requirement of 151 parking stalls on the site. Capital Investment Partners is proposing 180, which does meet the code for R4 high-density zoning. As part of a condition for this, we would see that the parking or storage of recreational vehicles, boats, trailers, any of those sort, would be prohibited on the property. So that would allow for just all the parking spots to be freed up for the residents there. In terms of pedestrian access, the trail connection would be on the north going west to the property here. And then this would connect up, the trail would ultimately connect up to the Border Street side of it. In terms of sidewalk connections, there would be a sidewalk along Dexter Street here with a crosswalk that is already here on the south side of the property. In addition to this, the fire department did review the proposal. So part of this, they would have liked to see additional driveways be added. So for this, they added an additional driveway in the eastern parking lot here. So now there will be 2 driveway access points on Glenridge Drive, and then there will also be one on Dexter Street right here. The fire department would also like to see an increased turning radius at the north drive aisle entrances of the parking lots. So for this, it was accommodated, and then 6 stalls had to be removed to accommodate for better turning radiuses with those big fire trucks. And then in addition to that, the FDC locations and the hydrants were relocated per the fire chief's comments. In terms of landscape standards, the Bluffs is subject to L2 landscape requirements. So this is based off of the street frontage, and it requires a certain amount of trees and shrubs on the lots. So for the trees, they are required to plant at least 32 trees. Capital Investment Partners is proposing 37 trees, and then 191 shrubs. They're proposing 215 shrubs as part of this site plan. In terms of the architectural and the lighting standards, the elevations and renderings were reviewed, and they do meet the city's architectural design standards for multifamily developments. The proposed exterior materials include Corey Gray and cultured stone. The mechanical equipment and refuse areas will be required to be screened per city standards as well. And then as for the exterior lighting, as a condition of approval, any exterior lighting must comply with Chapter 635-75 to prevent glare and light trespassing onto adjacent properties. In terms of stormwater and erosion control, there is a wet detention pond located in the southwest of the site. This does meet TSS reduction requirements, and the peak flow has been addressed in that stormwater modeling. In terms of disturbance, it disturbs a total of 4.14 acres, so this does require a Wisconsin DNR notice of intent. And then there is also an erosion control permit required prior to land disturbance. In terms of utilities, so we wanted to look at the total utility usage and how much that would affect the city's capacity on the water and sewer systems. So the Bluffs, with a total of 106 units, would add an additional, or would add to the total of the water capacity for a total of 325,847 gallons a day. Currently, the city usage is at 317,685 gallons per day. This average was calculated by looking at all the other multifamily developments in Prescott, all their units, and it was taken their average and added onto the total. We did the same thing here for the sewage. So with the added on 104 units, the sewer treatment usage would be increased to 352,000 gallons per day, on top of the already 344,000 gallons per day for the sewage treatment. So for the Bluffs, there is also a certified survey map required for it. This is to accommodate the stormwater pond and more parking here on this left side. So these are 2 separate parcels that will be combined into one, again for the pond and then just site improvements. And then in addition to that, there is a water main that runs through 1452 Glenridge Drive, and so because of this, there would be a utility easement for city access in the middle of the property. This would be 20 feet centered onto the water main. In addition to that, the Prescott City Code does require park dedications to be made. So in terms of this, there would be a fee in lieu paid towards city-selected park improvements. So there are two options shown on the map. So this is up to the Plan Commission to decide if this were to pass, where they would like to see the park be located. So there's option A, which is north of the bluffs, in that skate park area that is there. So we could either choose to have the park be located there, or there is this parcel over here on the school district property that could allow for a park here. So it is up to the Plan Commission to decide where they would like to see that. In addition to that, there would be a 10-foot trail corridor that runs along city-owned land up here, and then into the bluffs, or in north of the bluffs over here. Should option B be proposed, there would be a north crosswalk and pedestrian access up here as well. So with that, we did receive some public comments prior to the hearing. This is from Mark Hay on 1509 Glenridge Drive.
Hi.
So he said, "My name is Mark Hay. I'm an owner of property located at 1509 Glenridge Drive. I'm responding to the voicemail received from you indicating that I could submit my opposition to the rezoning of the undeveloped land located on Dexter and Glenridge Drive by sending you an email. The property I own was built on the understanding that the undeveloped land would be developed similar to the Hill Ridge Estate properties. 106 apartments will lower the value of my property significantly. If each family in the apartments had 2 vehicles, there would be over 200 vehicles clogging Dexter and Glenridge Drive. The Dexter Street and Glenridge Drive cannot handle the current vehicle volume when sporting events are held at the ball fields on Dexter Street or the high school. I believe the vehicle traffic created by 106 apartments will be dangerous to the children going to and from the high school each day. There is currently a large backup for people trying to get onto Highway 10 near the high school. Adding additional vehicle traffic from the proposed apartments will make this more dangerous." In addition to that, we also received public comments from Ron Stank. He is on 114 Linden Road. So this is a written comment regarding the request by CapVist to PUD to rezone property near the corner of Glenridge Drive and Dexter Street in the city of Prescott. He says, "Why are there zoning ordinances if every time a big money corporation wants to build something and requests variances to those ordinances? If a piece of property is zoned for one building, then put one building on it. It's not like there isn't other property available in the area to build on. The city will not benefit more by having 3 buildings on that property instead of the one it is zoned for." So with that, I can open it up to public comments here.
Everybody that wants to make a public comment, you gotta come to the podium, state your name and your address if you would, please.
I'll go first. My name is Chris Wanmacher, and my wife Jane is with me here tonight. We live at 1443 Glenridge Drive, so the corner of Glenridge and Linden. We moved here in 2012. We always knew that property was going to be developed. Never in our minds or hearts did we ever think it was going to be developed to the density that is being proposed here tonight. We're not against development, and we know that the city needs housing, but the proposed development here is going to have a direct impact on our current neighborhood and the people living in and around us. The current zoning allows for 1 principal building and 2 accessory structure, right? The proposal seeks approval for 3 principal buildings and 4 structures. Granting this request would set a precedence that ordinance limits are negotiable whenever density goals are desired. Now, I realize that developer could meet the city ordinance 635-19.1 by building 1 very large structure and then it would meet with just 2 outbuildings. But that in itself would require review and would not decrease the density of this project or open up any more green space. The real concern I have, and I believe many of my neighbors have, is the density of the population for this proposed development and its effect on the existing neighborhood. So the proposal includes 106 units, 151 bedrooms, 186 parking stalls, 34 of which are garages. Now, I don't know if that number includes the 6 taken off after the fire department review. Given 1 bedroom count and typical vehicle ownerships, the parking ratio is insufficient. Overflow parking will inevitably impact Glen Ridge Drive and Dexter Street. The concern is compounded by existing congestion during events at the First National Bank fields, which already result in frequent street parking along Glen Ridge and Dexter, all the way down to the corner of Linden, where we live. And that happens 4 nights a week from April through October. Adding over 100 additional households to this immediate area will intensify congestion, reduce on-street availability for existing homeowners and their guests, and potentially create hazardous conditions for pedestrians and emergency vehicles. Zoning ordinance exists in part to ensure that development intensity aligns with infrastructure capacity. We think the proposed density exceeds this parcel for what this parcel was intended to support. Prescott School District no longer provides in-town housing. Elementary, intermediate, and middle school students living in this development and area would and are currently walking or having to bike along Glen Ridge and Dexter to get to those schools.
Can I pause for 1 second? Because you made a comment and I couldn't hear it and it was important.
He said housing, but he meant busing.
Got
So
it.
the
Oh,
district
okay.
no longer provides busing. in
Okay,
town.
okay, thank you.
For that.
That's my wife.
I gathered, yeah.
Right?
I understood it before anyway.
I know what you're saying too.
Yeah. So these roads lack sufficient sidewalks and/or safe routes to school or the safe routes to school infrastructure. Increased traffic and potential overflow street parking will narrow these travel lanes and reduce visibility, creating additional risk for children and families. Proving this level of density without corresponding pedestrian infrastructure improvements creates forced safety hazards and danger to the public. The developer should burden the cost of such improvements if so approved. The site plan appears to maximize the building footprint and parking with minimal green space. Open space is not simply an aesthetic preference. It contributes to stormwater management, recreation, and well-being and neighborhood compatibility. Comparable developments in Prescott, such as those near Shane Park Circle, incorporated meaningful green space. This project should be held to a consistent standard. A parcel development to this intensity with limited open space risks creating a high-density disconnect from the surrounding neighborhood character that we already have. The site plan does not clearly indicate designated snow storage areas. With 186 parking stalls and multiple structures, snow removal logistics are practical and a safety concern. Improper snow placement can reduce parking capacity, obstruct sight lines, and impact stormwater systems. These operational realities should be clearly addressed prior to approval. There's stuff on the TIF. My personal thought on the TIF is that they should be held for businesses only. But I'll let others comment on that if they so choose. In closing, perhaps most importantly, this proposal requires substantial deviation from established zoning limits on principal and accessory structures. If approved, it signals that ordinance caps are flexible when density objectives are prioritized. Zoning regulations exist to provide predictability, fairness, and protection for both current and future residents. The question before the board is not whether housing is needed. We know that's a fact. It's whether this parcel, under its current zoning, should be developed at nearly triple the structural intensity of surrounding neighborhoods. We respectfully ask the board to deny the current proposal and request a development with less population density, green space applicable for the residents it would house, and to work the city and school districts to provide safe travel paths to and from schools. We have one chance to get this right. Once a shovel hits the ground, once the permits are signed, we live with this for 100 years in this town. One chance to get it right. Thank you for your time and considerations on these concerns. And again, I'm Chris Wanmacher, and I represent myself, my wife, and my 2 children that live on Glen Ridge Drive. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Johnson. I am the president of the Hill Ridge Estate over here. And of course, my phone's been ringing off the wall constantly with all the people that live over there. And I got a couple of questions. Have you guys had a vehicle impact statement for that area at all? Because we live over there and we see the traffic just from the school alone and the ball fields. And I can't imagine with 104 units being on that property, how much more traffic that's gonna be. I mean, I go to coffee every morning to Patax over there at 8 o'clock, and it takes me sometimes 10 minutes to get onto Highway 10. Just with the school and all that. And now, the school, they're shutting down a building because of enrollments. What is 104 units? Plus the 243 new houses that are gonna be built south of town, what's that gonna do to the population as far as the school? I mean, has any of that stuff been studied? What kind of families are gonna be coming into them areas?
Had a meeting today with the Joint Board of Review, and the superintendent of the schools was there. And he said he said they could accommodate that and more students with the 3 buildings that they have.
Even with the new 243 units that are gonna be
Yes,
built
sir.
out there on Hollister?
Yes, sir. That's
How
what,
many more? I mean, did he come up with a
I'm
number?
just
Yeah, how do they-
telling you what he said.
How do they know how many kids are gonna be
More people?
coming, how many kids do they know is gonna be coming into these apartments? They don't know. It's just a guess.
Well, so is the traffic and, it's all a guess. You can just give rough estimates.
And I know we're also, it's such a nice, quiet neighborhood right now. And we can't imagine what it's gonna bring to that couple blocks there. So that's what I got to say.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Jill Boris. I live at 1505 Glen Ridge, and quite frankly, I don't even know where to start. I have a question to start, then I have some comments, and some of you who know me are thinking, oh no. But just relax. My question is, in the newspaper, not last week, but maybe last week, or the week before, there was a big article about the council introducing all of this, and it looked like, possibly not, but it looked like things were already approved. Is that so?
No.
We're having a public hearing.
No, it's just got
Yeah.
a start.
Okay, because I'm thinking a public meeting after it's approved, a little bit like shutting the barn door when the horses are gone. I mean,
Horses are still here.
it's not approved
Horses are,
yet.
yeah, they're still in the barn.
So-
Yeah, you're good.
As Chris said, very eloquently, I might add, we have a chance to get this right, and this is not right. We've got 2 ballparks, and they're usually very largely occupied by young teams, and young teams bring in parents, and there's parking. on Dexter, which is only on one side because the other people on this side didn't want it. I think that was the case. At any rate, then we are not allowed to park on our streets overnight. But if we have all of those people over there, they're going to park on our streets. And they're going to park overnight. And it's going to cause, I wish I had thought like you did, Chris, to write things down. Because I could just ramble on forever.
I haven't slept much in the last couple of days.
Well, it was very good, thank you. And Mike, thank you very much. The thing is, we were told that there might be development. We never expected a 3-story apartment building with all of that traffic. We've got a school there, and the school generates traffic. And that's fine, because that's a school. But then we've got all of those young people at the ballparks. And I mean, I'm majoring on that because it's dangerous. And no matter how you slice it, it's dangerous to have that much traffic. And some people apparently are talking about trying to get on the highway. Luckily, don't have to do that anymore, but still, you've got all of those people over there, and they're going to try to get on the highway. God, in a park, how can you have a park when you have this huge building and all of this space with not enough parking? I mean, how can you have a park?
There's one
And
there,
then you've got-
there's one there now, but it's just not that great. It's the skate park, just
Pardon
for
me?
awareness. The skate park is there, so just for information. It's not great, trust me. I was on parks for a while and
Okay.
we talked about it, but
There are
it is
also
there.
other places that could
Yeah.
have been sold. If Seifert wanted to sell this property, why didn't he sell it and accommodate something like what we have at Hill Ridge? I think that would make some sense. I don't want anybody over there. But the thing is, you know, it's like you have your home and you're happy in it. And you don't want anyone to screw it up. I mean, that's basically how people feel. And I'm starting to ramble, ain't I? Yep. Okay. I just would ask you to reconsider. This is not a good idea. The noise and the lights and the traffic alone should ask you to reconsider if someone wants to build somewhere. We have places. Did you take a look at the east side of the high school? It's huge over there. Huge.
Privately
So-
owned,
Yeah.
outside of the city limits.
We're not trying to find a solution. Right now, it's just public comment.
Yeah, well.
That's what I
then
would say.
There's a big place out 35 overlooking the river. It's beautiful.
We're not looking for
Go
another
out there.
place. I would say we should talk about your objections. You don't want it there. I would leave it at that. Because you could start talking about River Falls be a good place to put it too, but we're not here to do that tonight. I mean, really,
I think-
we're here to just, what's your concern, not what's the solution that you think we should deal with. That's all I'm gonna ask you, otherwise we could be here all night. Not picking on you, Joe,
Absolutely right,
but
David.
all night we could be here.
Absolutely right. Thank you.
Hi, Matt Wolf, 560 Flora Street in Prescott. I know these guys kind of all covered what's going on in that area. I don't live in that area. I'm very familiar with that area. My concern more is kind of the precedents we're setting by allowing us to like override all of these ordinances and stuff to allow this kind of stuff to happen in this town. When it's zoned for one building, anytime someone wants to come in and build 3, we just are gonna push it through and allow them to build 3. I mean, if that's the precedence we're gonna set for future development, I mean, I can see it turning into another developer coming in and wanting to do something, and the planning commission says we're not gonna allow it, and a lawsuit starts. Because, well, you allowed it here and you allowed it here, why aren't you gonna allow it here? And then, of course, all the concerns they had with all these high-density apartments, I mean, I don't have the numbers, but I do know just from the past few years that, our infrastructure is already stressed with, I know you had the numbers on the water and the sewer, but I know we have problems with our septic plant, we have problems with our water, and You know, there's concerns on the fire department, there's concerns with the police department, short staff, not enough equipment. We're adding all these extra people into this town. I'm not against, you know, adding citizens and growth, but we also have to keep up with it on you know, the police and fire side and the infrastructure side also. So I don't know if all of that has been considered. As far as except police and fire, I work kind of deal with stuff in the fire industry, and I know when you start building high-rise buildings, and I say on 3 stories is a high-rise, but you start getting into, does the fire department need a ladder truck? Well, a fire ladder truck now is $2.5 million. So 3 years from now, if we start building these 3-4 story buildings, we need a ladder truck in Prescott. Who's going to pay for the probably $3.5 million ladder truck in 5 years? We are. And then I don't know if this discussion is part of the TIF or if that's further down.
That's a separate one down.
Separate one? Okay.
Did you object to the condos being built in 2003?
Nope.
That
I was
also
not
to
living
need
in
a
town in
ladder truck.
2003.
Yeah,
I mean, that was 23 years ago.
we have a ladder truck because of that building, because it was 3-story, 4-story? Four.
Oh,
I
the
should
one's
know
down
that.
by the river.
Correct.
Right.
Street?
Correct.
Yeah, we don't have a ladder truck.
No,
No, not for that one, that's right. We have the, which one is it, Dave?
mutual aid.
Mutual
Thanks.
aid.
We have mutual aid
Mutual
with
aid.
Hastings
Thank you.
and I believe River Falls that have ladder trucks, but there's gonna come a time when that's not gonna be available.
Good
And
comments.
That's what's gonna happen.
Thank you.
I'd like to say one more thing.
Go ahead, Mike.
Absolutely. That's so everybody that's at home watching can hear you.
Okay. Mike Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, I've been in the association now, and I've been the president for over 20 years. And I dealt with Seaward a lot when I first, over the years. And he always told me that that lot, he was gonna put some villas in there. And I'm wondering, did he ever come to you guys as a planning and talk about putting villas in there?
Not to my knowledge.
They were gonna be like 5 or 6 units, 1 level, 1 2-bedroom, just like we're living in across the street, which would have been the same type of complex, but it was not gonna be an association. It was just gonna be, he was gonna put like 5 or 6 buildings in there, 1 or 2 bedrooms for seniors. And I think personally, that would be beautiful for that area.
Okay, thanks.
Jane Wanamaker, 1443 Glenridge Drive. I just don't want it to be understated that a number of the counted parking stalls are actually garages in this plan. And I grew up living in apartment buildings. Many residents don't use garages for parking their vehicle. They use it for storage of their belongings. So like taking in that to further consideration, it just diminishes the number of parking stalls available further, and that is our biggest concern, is we just want, they will want to have their own space to park. And having to remove 6 more for fire reasons, it's so unreasonable. Thank you. Just wanted that to be noted.
Norma McCarthy, 1507 Glenridge Drive, right across. I'm not going to reiterate every negative that you've heard here and every other concerns and questions they've been gone over. I'm going to get a little more personal. A number of years ago, about 10 or so, I lost my husband. And my kid said to me, "Mom, you got to move close to one of us." I was living up north. So I didn't want to move cross country, but I did have a son in the area, and I said, "Find me a nice townhouse And I don't want to be warehoused. I want to see grass. I want to see trees. I don't want to have that feeling that I'm enclosed with all this kind of stuff that you see in a big city. Fine. So, lo and behold, they found me the place that I'm in right now, and I love it. I have loved living here. But frankly, you have not considered the aesthetics of this thing. That building looks crappy, absolutely crappy. And I hope that you turn this damn thing down.
My name's Karen Erickson. I live at 2073 Pleasant Drive. My son and his family live on Flora Square, not too far around the corner from this thing. My 16-year-old granddaughter drives this route every morning to the high school and back, and there's already a lot of traffic on that road, especially at the opening and closing of high school day times, which is about the time that people would be getting up and also driving out of there to go to work and their jobs from that high-density area. I have several concerns. One is the safety of the children, the high school children, the kids who play on the fields during games, which is most of the summer. And, a lot of parking on the street there on Glen Ridge and also on Dexter would create a lot of opportunities for children to be running out in front of between cars into the street. You have the lack of busing to the schools. That's a problem for the children. So I think we need to consider, first of all, the safety of our children and grandchildren. That's paramount above everything else. If you don't have safety in town, you've got nothing. Second of all, I agree with the gentleman who mentioned the fire department. A ladder truck in River Falls is wonderful if you're not on the third floor and the building's burning. Because by the time they get here from River Falls, you're toast. The third floor is not the place to be in a fire with no ladder truck. And I think it's, I don't want to say unconscionable, but I think it's unreasonable to ask people to move into a building without the ability to help them escape in a fire. I also have concerns about not enough police on staff, our police department being too small. During this last snowstorm, there was an accident on our highway, right on the street right behind our major kind of county highway behind our house. And there were like 10 cars involved. I called the police and I said, you need to get somebody out here because the cars were just continually stacking up because they couldn't see around the bend that there was another accident in front of them. And they said, we're doing the best we can. We're stretched too thin. And I said, okay. So we, hollered over to see if anyone was hurt and needed help. But we need a police department that can support the number of people living in the city. We need the safety of our children. We need the fire safety of the people living in the building who would be built. And I think the third thing is the city has made a promise with these zoning laws in the past to every person who's bought a house in that neighborhood that it was zoned for one residential building and 2 outbuildings or whatever it is. That density might make sense in that neighborhood. I drove that neighborhood today to look around. And I've driven it many times before, taking my granddaughter to school and back, before she was able to drive. And it concerns me greatly, well, beyond greatly actually, that the city council would consider tripling the amount of density on that lot beyond what the zoning required, and breaking that promise to every homeowner in that neighborhood. I don't live in that neighborhood, but I can tell you I could just as easily have lived in that neighborhood. And I live in a neighborhood where development is still going on. So I don't know that you're not going to do the same thing to my neighborhood later. And I think when zoning laws are made in these long-term neighborhoods where people have lived for 20 or 30 or 40 years, You need to stick with those zoning regulations. There's plenty of space in Prescott for these higher density buildings. I agree we need more residential housing. But packing 3 times the number of people on a lot zoned for one building is not the way to do it. It destroys neighborhoods. It creates safety issues for children and grandchildren. It creates parking issues. It creates traffic issues, bottlenecks in a city where there don't need to be bottlenecks. And the issue with the density in the schools, the school superintendent said, yeah, we can accommodate that. But what about the future growth? You know, we've got to have schools that have enough space in them for not only the kids we have there now, but the ones that are in these proposed developments, like the one they're building plus the one we're talking about today, and still have capacity for future development. Unless you plan on this being the very last development ever in Prescott. Because you've already shrunk the schools down from 4 to 3.
We didn't do that.
The school board.
Well, I know you didn't,
Okay,
but,
well, you said we did.
well, the city has done that.
No, the city
the
doesn't run
school
schools.
board.
Okay, let me rephrase that. It had to be done based on budgeting and a lot of other things, that there couldn't be 4 schools any longer, there now could only be 3. And no matter how you slice that, and no matter how you break up the grades, you still got more kids in each building. So you have those kids, plus the ones that are coming in from the development already in the works, plus the one that we're talking about now, plus any future development. If there's enough capacity in the schools for that now, great. If there's not, then we shouldn't be overstressing the fact that, hey, we can accommodate them now. Yeah, but what about 2 years from now or 3 years from now? When all those people that move into those houses with kids, you know, have more kids. And now you've got a lot more in the elementary schools. You've got a lot more in the middle school. You've got a lot more in the high schools. And then there's no way there's an outflow of, I don't want to say, downhill responsibility that comes from a decision like this. The schools, the police, the fire, the neighborhoods that are being disrupted by this kind of a thing. And it's not necessary because it's already zoned for one residential building. If you need more housing, put one residential building on that lot with the outbuildings that it's zoned for, and find another place for more high-density housing that won't cause the disruptions that we're talking about here. I am not in favor of this.
Dave Hovel, Planning Commission member. Been on the council 4 years, mayor, or 8 years. I want to get everyone to understand, this is owned R4. It has been since you guys bought your homes. It's been R4. R4 allows apartment buildings. And right now, this meets the density, though it's 3 buildings instead of 1, it meets the density for an R4. Now, Seaward might have told you all, hey, it's only going to be twin homes, slab on grade, blah, blah, blah. That's what they were proposing. But they didn't, and they sold it. And it's in a zoned R4. Whether you like it or not, I hate to say that. And I'm not being mean, I'm just stating the fact. Number 2, ladder trucks. Yeah, they're important, but guess what? Nowadays, you can't build an apartment building without a sprinkler system. So it's not like they're going to be standing there without any water to the building. They will have a sprinkler system, yes. If that sprinkler fails, we better get a ladder truck there quick. But it will have a sprinkler in the building. I'm a building inspector, I do know that. Police needs a treatment plant, water deal. The city needed that back when they probably put my subdivision in. Or the one that any of you live in now, they probably said, we need another water tower because of all your new homes, because that's why we got 2 water towers. We're gonna need one when they finish developing out by me, because my water pressure is low. It's just a fact that as you grow, yeah, you're not gonna have the building, or the school big enough for if the city decides to go east, starts building out that way, yeah, we're gonna probably need a new school. We're gonna probably need a bigger treatment plant. We're probably gonna need a water tower. That's called growth. Now, none of us like it. Do I want the 242 houses that's going in behind my house? No, I like the cornfield, but I can't afford to buy the cornfield. So I'm gonna have to accept what comes my way. As much as I hate to say this, because I know pretty much everybody here and I get along with them, I'd like to vote your way, but in reality, if they, other than my only thought is, there's a water main going through that property. So it's kind of hard for them to put one building there because of the water main. So they probably said, geez, can't do it anyway, let's just do 3. I agree with some of you. Do we give them that variance on the PUD? Maybe not. Maybe not. So maybe we say you can't do it, put one building there. Now, 2 options they have, and I could tell them it, but I won't right now, but they could probably put 2 buildings there if they split the lots up if they so choose. There's many different ways to try to get what they want. In reality, it's zoned R4, and I've been in government probably too long. I was in here for 7 years and River Falls for 29. What I've learned from zoning, it's R1 single family, then R2 is like your duplexes, your twin homes, then R3 might be your triplexes, fourplexes, like the development that's next to this. Now the single family home, that's unusual. You don't normally have a single family home next to an R4. And then it's usually like multifamily R4, and then it goes to industrial and commercial. It's kind of that buffer as you get through into the progression. I don't care what we do, anything we do here, my development, 242 houses, probably 480 cars if not more. Am I happy they're gonna go by my house? No. Should the police gonna have to patrol a little bit more, whether it's up here or out by my place? Yes, they're gonna have to. Now, I'm not saying that I agree with the 3 neither, maybe it goes to 1, but the fact is, R4 allows it. Sprinkler building, so the ladder truck is eventually gonna be, Chris would tell me that because he's on the fire department. The ladder truck would definitely be helpful if this one started on fire and the sprinklers didn't do their job. That's important, but that's part of the growth of the city. At some point, we will need a ladder truck just because we're gonna grow that fast. So I just wanna set that record straight that everyone thinks that zoning changed. It did not. Seward changed their thought. Seward decided, I don't wanna do this, I'm gonna sell it and let someone else do it, and someone else came and decided to use it to its maximum potential because it's zoned that way. And I just want to state that for everybody, not that you want to hear it, but that's a reality of zoning and how it works. Okay?
So for the high density, just so we're clear, is there not a cap on how many apartment units you can have?
As it states today verbatim, because I have it up because I was wanting to check.
Yep.
So it says, purpose, the high density residential district is intended to provide an area where residential development involving the construction of 9 or more units may be built. The residential development will provide opportunities for flexible housing development while maintaining a high standard of design and neighborhood compatibility. This district accommodates multifamily housing in areas presently served or readily serviceable by the public water or sewer. It says principal permitted uses, 9 or more dwelling units, all within the same structure, neighborhood, park, or development, and then accessory structures. It states a principal building and a total of 2 accessory buildings can be placed on the lot. Essential services, electric car integration.
So there's no.
There is, I think it's a minimum 500 square foot per dwelling unit.
Yeah, I didn't go down.
And then there's 70% lot coverage, and so we restrict how high they can go, so that kind of stops them. And then restrict the total coverage of the lot restricts how many units they could put on there. That's what the zoning code would say.
Hi, I'm Rose Severson. I live on Glen Ridge Drive, on the corner of Dexter and Glen Ridge. And I'm talking about a safety issue. When there is ball games there, they are parked across from us, and they cannot just park on the road. They have to go up over the curb to park there because there's not room for a car to just drive down Glen Ridge. And if anybody has ever been up to a ball game, it's really bad. And they're not only the kids playing ball, it's the kids that are the younger siblings. They're out running around. There's dogs up there running around. And it's a big safety issue.
And I did receive about 6 concerns from, well, Mark High was one of them, about the parking, the safety for the kids, parking on their side of the street, and if this would go through, do you put no parking on one side, and then these residents, you can do like a parking, no parking on this side without a permit, and they get permit, so then that keeps their side open. The fact is, as they all say, and that would be a concern I'd have here for this, is where does the parking go then?
That's our
There is gonna be a parking
That's
center.
our constant conversation as the.
Part of me is the high school or the school
But-
system should provide more parking for their ball fields. That's part of the problem, because they end up overflowing into
Well, we
residential.
talked about last time, and it was something that I brought up is traffic on that road. And it was a concern that we basically talked about our last meeting, and we decided to let this go forward to council and then do the public hearing. And I think that that is a valid concern, though, is absolutely the traffic on that road.
It's terrible.
It sucks.
Well, it's bad to begin with, but I know when the development went down behind Joy Lutheran Church and everybody's, parking, the cars coming through, their kids are gonna run over at the high school, and I haven't heard of any yet. Hopefully we never do, but
Because we don't have a sidewalk down Dexter, do we, going to the high school now that our buses are, we do have one?
Yeah, we do.
It's not showing on
it
the,
jumps across the, I don't know.
That's why.
Across the
No one's
road.
gonna
I was
enforce
looking-
a parking permit, though. I mean, the police aren't gonna be able to
Well,
take the time to enforce that.
you'd have to do something, but it's an option. Yes, guess what? A couple tickets and it probably gets enforced pretty quick. But that's an option. That's the only thing I thought of, because parking will be an issue, plain and simple.
Well, if they could add parking from where they presently do all the way down to, what is the crossroad down at the end, would help enormously.
Well, yeah. And the school district says, they can park in the high school parking lot, they can walk down there. That's not ever gonna happen. Again, I agree with Jane. I never thought of that. Thank you, Jane, for the fact that any parking garage will be a storage unit. It's not gonna be a
Yes.
parking space. So that is
100%.
that would be my concern too, is parking.
Yep.
And the garage is not being parking, prohibiting anything else. And then, again, as Matt said, enforcement, but it can be enforced. It just has to be, okay, guess what? That's gonna happen for a while.
on the water main.
So, there are concerns here, there's no doubt about it. I just want to make sure everyone understands it is allowed. It's just, we have to determine what's important and how many stalls do we want. If they meet the code, can we require more? I think they'd be wise to do that, because it's going to be a concern. Because we might say no parking on any of the streets around them, and then that would get them to do more parking if that was a concern everybody has about kids crossing the street with cars in the way. That's why there's only parking on one side of Dexter right now, because of that concern.
I think Chris said it best. We do have one chance to get this right, and I don't think just, I don't know, ramming something through is the way to kind of do it.
You can't ignore the fact.
You gotta come up to the podium if you're gonna speak, ma'am.
All right, you can't ignore the fact of safety. You can't say that the police will have to, step up their job a little bit, and the fire department doesn't have a ladder truck. 12 minutes minimum from River Falls. Probably the same amount of time from Hastings. We had a barn fire when we lived over in Afton. 12 minutes, the barn was gone. I mean, with animals. I mean, it was awful. And you cannot ignore facts of safety, period. That's all I'm saying.
Did you have fire suppression in your barn?
What?
Did you have fire suppression in your barn?
Sprinkler.
Like these apartments are gonna
Did I
have?
have sprinklers in my barn?
I'm not saying it, no.
Do you know anyone that has a sprinkler system in their barn?
No, I don't. I'm saying if the apartment starts on fire, the sprinklers are gonna go off.
You hope.
You hope.
I don't know, I've never seen glass not melt at 151. David, you're 29 years, have you ever seen a sprinkler head not work?
Haven't heard of any. I'm sure they have failed, but they might be years and years old, and they should be inspected regularly, so.
Heard of them.
So Dave, you said that it's already zoned for this, but it's zoned for 4 apartments, but
No, it's only zoned, the zoning doesn't say one building. It could be
One
a
building, not
big
3.
Conglomerate building. It could
Right.
be.
You
Yep.
could put
but it's-
106 units in one building.
right,
what he's
but
saying, basically.
that's not what's being proposed.
No.
Well, and then 4 tiers high, and it'd be even more of a
And your point being, yes.
obstacle.
Yeah, so it is zoned correctly, they could do this 100 and some units in one building, but that's not what's being proposed. It's being
Correct.
proposed as
Perfect.
3 buildings and more secondary buildings.
Correct. Yep, yep, just FYI, good point, yep. Motion to close public hearing?
Second.
Unless someone
Motion
else has
second to
something.
close the public hearing.
Is it more?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, then the next item on the agenda is consideration and possible action of a resolution
meant to say yay.
approving a site plan for the Bluffs multifamily development.
Mayor,
You should have hit me.
so the developer is here, Trevor, and
Yeah.
question, I don't know if we want to give them an opportunity to speak, given all the comments that were
Sure.
received. And
Trevor, if you will.
Sorry. Probably closed too soon.
No, go
All right,
ahead,
go ahead.
you're fine.
I understand your concerns. And, you know, every time, I can't say every time, quite commonly when we come in to do a project, you know, the concerns are the typical traffic, parking, tax on public infrastructure, be it police, fire, and et cetera. We really do try to be good stewards and partners. And we do have similar projects. If you looked at New Richmond, we have a project called Mill City. It's right next to the high school. You know, from a parking standpoint, we ourselves want to go above and beyond what the requirement of a municipality is in their zoning. The last thing that we want is not having parking space for our tenants. And that's self-contained. I can tell you from the other projects, again, Mill City, the Current and River Falls, in both of those cases, we don't have people parking on the street. Can I look at you and guarantee that? Absolutely not. But we would rather be self-contained as it relates to parking than have to worry about our folks being out on the street. In regards to working with the fire department, you know, attempting to make their concerns addressed in the civil process, civil design process, to making sure we have the turn radiuses and everything else that they want, as well as the fire hydrants in locations that are outside the fall zone of a potential building. As it relates to the school district, communication with the school district of the additional perceived to be kids that would potentially be enrolled in the school. We did provide that information to the school district of what our common average is on a development like this with this type of building. You do have a school district that does have declining enrollment. I don't have the actual numbers, but if you look at the pre-K numbers, I think it was fairly alarming, the definitive decline in class size. You know, this is an opportunity to help support that. School districts are paid on a per pupil basis versus having to go to maybe someday an operating referendum to support it. As it relates to traffic, traffic is always a concern. And you know, I would say this: we did have a traffic analysis study, traffic analysis completed by an independent party, SEH. That was really meant from our standpoint, not being me, the big bad developer, coming up and saying, well, he's going to say that because that's what he wants. And so trying to look and go, understand, yes, there is 106 apartments being built. Yes, there is traffic flow. Yes, it will be in addition to what is currently there. If you look at kind of what I would perceive to be the traffic flow, you know, going by the high school, I would assume most people are going to go west. What's that?
Yes, Turkey.
I would assume people are going to go west. And if you're going to go that way, you're probably not going by the high school and going around a roundabout and coming on Orion and trying to get off on Campbell, as it's really only one car at that intersection. My assumption is you're going to try to come through so you can be at the controlled by Quick Trip and to move on from that direction. Your traffic patterns are not the same as the school district as is people coming to for work, right? They're going to be at different times. And I guess at the end of the day, the traffic analysis that was completed by SEH supported that what is there, I understand you may not agree, should support the additional traffic being generated from this development. Other questions the Plan Commission may have?
Have you accounted for the snow removal piece of it? That was kind of a good point in my mind.
Snow removal,
Just be clear, there's no development that's happened to the city that's to come for snow removal. Our city code
That's fine, I just wondered if they had a plan.
states it's illegal for it to be put
Just
on
wondered if they
public.
had a plan.
so typically what we do is a mountable curb into the storm
Okay.
system so that we can push as much as we can into that. We want to protect and keep as many parking stalls as possible.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, green space too. I know it meets the requirements, but, I mean, do you feel like will there be green space in between the buildings, or how's that gonna look?
I think that's part of the park allocation, isn't it?
Oh, that's a park allocation?
Yeah, I think that's how that works. Yeah, he's
Instead of the
gotta
green space.
contribute to
Right,
the-
there's about an acre and a half, I'm
Oh.
guessing.
I don't love that.
What is the fee for the park?
What is the fee for the park allocation?
It's 10% of what the land dedication, and then the fee is, I believe the discussion has been ongoing in terms of if there's a development agreement, what it would be finally, the final amount. But in terms of the impervious and green space requirement that they have to meet in terms of the 70%, they are currently meeting that standard. The only item that, in terms of the PUD that's before you, is the actual number of buildings in terms of parking. All the other items regarding parking setbacks, those are being met per our city standards and code.
The PUD, my comment on that is I'd rather see 3 buildings as they're presented than one big one, because they can get what they want out of this property, and one big one's gonna be probably much less appealing looking and legal for them to do, as long as they meet those needs. Or we could make an exception to make 3 versus one big one. It'll be 3, same outcome, but
If they come to us with one building, we have to rubber stamp it.
we can't say no if
No,
they
it's-
comply
it's
with
everything.
the code requirements.
I think that's probably something we should make clear, like, if they come to us with one building, we also can't
You
just
can't say no.
You can't say no if it meets the code
There
requirements.
is no meeting, it's rubber stamp, go
Yeah.
start building.
And I would argue 3 would look better than one big one.
We ready to move on?
I don't know.
I'm not totally, I'm looking at this a little bit, and the direction of which they are implying for the traffic, I don't think is quite right as I'm looking at the manual, but I'm still on the traffic piece, and the water main is kind of one thing I was not expecting, I guess. So, that, to me, I'm kind of, Dave, I'd like your thoughts on that.
Well, and
Water main.
Again, and I understand Matt's and a half. I know there's a reason for PUD. Sometimes you don't see something that could be done, so PUD is to say, here's a little bit of variance, but overall it'd meet the intent of that zone. And my only guess was, and I could be wrong, that that's maybe why they went to 3 also because of the water main.
Because it's not, it's going straight
But-
underneath that middle building?
But, so
Have
that's an
easement?
exception to any lot. If any of you had a lot that had a water main going down the middle of their lot, they're not gonna build over the top of it, they're just not allowed.
I was like, is it one we've touched recently?
Of course, no, that one's been there a while since the water tower went in, I believe, and as everybody here could say, and I would say too, is they knew it when they bought it, there's a water main down the middle. But that's why they probably proposed this, because they said, well, we can't put one big one, that's my guess. But is that a reason to say we go opposite the variance? I half agree with Steve. At the other end, 3 buildings probably look better than one big monstrosity that had the same number of units, because they probably could do that, other than the water main would make it difficult. So, zoning is zoning, it is what it is. It's not like the rezoning is the PUG just to go from 1 building to 3. That's the only thing they're really asking for tonight. And the commission's got to, and again, ultimately the council makes the decision. We would make a recommendation, and the council decides if that's a good idea or not a good idea. So, that answered your question, Bailey. The water main was there. I think when both water towers went in, they put it down through there.
During the opening presentation Luke had performed there, he mentioned, I think he mentioned that there, on this particular property, there are 2 lots right now, right? This is part of the approval, is to put them together? Is that true? Did I hear that right?
Yes.
So technically, could they put, a single property with 2 outbuildings on each one of those right now?
What is that one is the holding pond. That little holding pond they bought that
Yeah.
little chunk down below and they wanna add that to this
For
parcel.
the stormwater?
Right,
Got it.
for the stormwater.
I was thinking they could do 2 big buildings with two dwellings as it was, but that wouldn't work either.
No, they'd have to do a different certified survey.
They could split the land, yeah.
So that just, I don't know. So that's the big question too, do you like 3 buildings or 1? Because either way, they could put this many on there. That's just everyone to know, they could put it on there. Traffic is, again, traffic, yeah, I think it's gonna be a concern, but if I speak from my past experience, again, Glenridge, or behind Joy Luce, and that was gonna be terrible, 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 and I don't hear anything, and then UNFI was the other one, all them truck traffic, no one's ever gonna have Highway 10, and you don't hear about either one of them. Just FYI, doesn't mean we won't have a problem here. There's no two ways about it, it's a lot less direction to go unless they come out the backside or go up Dexter. So,
There is mitigation too, you can do speed bumps around the school, things like that, like they do in some communities, I'd speculate.
We're not looking for a solution here.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about
Gotcha.
the zoning map. So let's stay on track here. So the next item is consideration of possible action of a resolution approving a site plan for the Bluffs multifamily development at 1452 Glenwood Drive. Anybody wants to make a motion?
I'd like to table it and
I would like to table it.
I would also like.
have the developer, he's heard the
There's some
concerns.
changes I would like to talk about.
There's some issues. It's the developer to make the change, I'd like him to absorb what he heard tonight and come back with something. Still meets the ordinance, maybe he brings back one or he splits properties or
Cause
maybe we approve this, but
So for everybody's awareness, what's pushing it to the PUD is the accessory structure only.
Yeah, the only
No,
P-
it's
plus
the
we got
building,
3 buildings.
plus the building, but
Primaries.
like really that was one piece, I remember, that was basically.
Well,
mentioned.
they could always put those 4 garages into 2, so you
Yeah.
get filled up, but that's not gonna be.
I know
actually
exactly
helping
what
the
she's
family.
saying though about apartment buildings, I've been in enough of them, so it's a hoarding spot.
I'd rather say no garages because they can't store
Anytime you
stuff in
see
them.
somebody's garage, open it up.
Couldn't they put all the garages together? I
I don't
mean,
know.
they could really make it look
I-
ugly, I kind of appreciate spreading it out.
I would like to motion to table.
It's a buffer.
Also,
I made the motion to table, Matt.
Just, and again, the only reason I like to do it, and hate to delay you guys, but it's just to absorb a little bit more, and you know what the big concern is, and I think council has a little bit. I don't know what you're gonna change a whole lot. Parking, traffic is what it is.
So just so I understand your motion to table, maybe you need to give staff what you're looking for before it's brought back and specifically the developer, so we know.
No problem,
What?
no problem. I will give a I will send an email.
No, he wants it
Well,
in
we
the
need
want
to
it now.
have it
He wants it in the
public.
motion, he said.
Oh, you want
Like,
the
so you
motion?
state-
I would like to come back and talk about, one, the entrances that the fire department's talking about, so for traffic, and then how are we gonna, I'm just not, like, I appreciate this, I think this is great, but I'm not sold on it.
So you want to talk about the entrances?
Traffic, entrances,
Not number of buildings?
number of buildings as well.
So you're saying you don't like the amount of entrances that are being required as terms of 3, or you
I
want?
just wanna talk about the traffic flow, like, I just got this.
You'd
So
like
I'm
to
trying
see
to
the study
read
and
it right
review it.
now. So like, I'm trying to read it right now, and there's stuff in here that I'm trying to look up on the side, so that's where I'd like to get a
So is
better
it fair to say
chance.
the plan is good, you just don't have enough time to digest the information?
I think the plan is, I mean, I'm not crazy about it, I'm gonna be honest. I mean, if I look at around the surrounding area, and I'm just being transparent, if you look at the buildings that we have there, across the street, we have like, I think they're twin homes or duplexes right across from there. And it is a little bit big and over encompassing for that neighborhood, that's just kind of how I see it. And yes, it is zoned R4, and I completely respect that, and there could be a massive building that goes in there. But I do think it's a little much, I guess, is just where I'm sitting right now, and that's where I'd like to take time to understand.
Right, but just to be
This study.
clear, the zoning code allows for the density, so the density is not the
I know.
discussion. So we can't say no to the density, that's not even what's really being reviewed right
So
now.
then
It's
no
being
to
reviewed.
the,
No
number
to
of
the 3
buildings then, and
buildings.
accessory structures, if we need to be compliant with the law and stating that we can't make any other discussions on this other piece, cause they're compliant, then it's the non-compliant things I wanna talk about.
So specifically, you want the developer to come back with a proposal that
Yeah.
looks at one
Yes.
building? Okay.
Do I need
If
to
he makes a
second that?
proposal for one building,
Yes, you can.
we don't have to do none of this.
Yeah.
It'll just go in. There won't be any more discussion. You guys all realize that, right?
I didn't realize that, but is there from a,
I think
hey, can I make a comment?
Yeah,
I
go
think
ahead.
that from a community standpoint, is there a way that we can meet in the middle with the developer of some sort? Can they relook at maybe doing something different? Maybe doing something like I saw the last meeting in Somerset, where it's more the townhomes, the twin homes, those kinds of things. I think, I
See,
mean,
now you're talking
Now
about,
we're talking rezoning.
you're talking rezoning.
Yeah, we gotta
They
rezone.
gotta
Oh.
rezone it.
No,
before.
no, they can build those.
No, they could, but if somebody comes with something that, if they come with one building that's compliant, you can't say, no, I want townhouse.
No, I understand that. I'm not saying, but I'm asking from a community standpoint, from all the people who are sitting here in the community that have a problem with it, would that be something the developer would want to maybe consider relooking at? Instead of
I know,
just,
look what he's in the-
just
he's in the
shoving this
business of building up
106 unit building into this spot where obviously people maybe don't want it.
That's his business.
I get it's his business, but this is our community. Chris is right, he said we have one chance to get it right. Why wouldn't we look at all the options, look at all the things? I don't think it's fair to just, I don't know, I've been in this situation.
Yeah.
I've been in this
It
situation,
came up with the middle school.
so I can appreciate where everyone's coming from.
Difference though.
There wasn't a difference back then
Yeah,
because
there's, that wasn't zoned R4.
Yeah, and it was no parking, zero.
but they were gonna try to rezone it.
Yeah.
So, I get that this is not necessarily the same, but I don't know. I mean, I'm just asking the question.
And ask them to build something different, saying, take your profits, which that's their job. All of us work for a living to make money, their companies work to make a profit.
I can appreciate that.
And to them, this is the best use of their property. So to tell someone, well, you know what, Dave, you shouldn't build a 3-bedroom house, you should build a 1-bedroom with
I
a single car
didn't-
garage.
I did
I'm
not.
making an exaggerated
It's-
example.
It's
I did-
private property, if they're meeting zoning codes and they can
I
go build
can
whatever
appreciate
they
that.
want.
I'm looking at it from
We're not-
I'm all for growth in the community, I'm all for that. At some point though, when the community pushes back a little bit, I feel like the developer could take a step back and say, hey, maybe it's not something, I don't know, that maybe just wishful thinking on my part. Just begging the question, that's all.
I'm not asking for one building, I just wanna have basically a,
Discussion.
that's it. But if I have to say it's for something of not meeting compliance, because that's what we do here on the zoning, then that's what I would say.
If you are specifically stating you do not like the PUD proposal as was
Presented.
presented
as
in terms,
presented.
then I would say do not table it. I would motion to reject the PUD so that both the developer and the staff know then moving forward. Because tabling it all,
It's just,
it's not gonna.
Kicks the can down the road.
We can take a vote on it if we want. I'm fine with that.
Just you have to withdraw the motion?
I'll withdraw the motion.
One nice thing about seeing something like a rendering of a single building, it might deter the idea of going that way. I would have a picture of monstrosity that we're not gonna like either.
But
And they could do that without our permission, kind of.
fair?
They still need a blessing, but
Yeah.
make sure it meets
In
code.
compliance with code.
Okay, I'd motion at this point to deny the resolution for the multifamily for 1452 Glen Ridge Drive at this time, because of the concerns.
I'll second it.
We have a motion, a second, to deny the planned unit development overlay for 1452 Glen Ridge Drive. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, I'll do a roll call. Dave?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Haley?
Oh, I said nay, right? Oh, you're saying aye to this, yes, aye, sorry. I'm getting them switched.
Josh?
Okay.
Steve?
Aye.
I say nay, so I guess it's denied. Okay, the next item is consider approval of ordinance 02-26, ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of Prescott.
I believe since
That's in
you have
correlation
denied
with
the
that, though.
PUD, we can now table the rest of the motions until you have a,
Okay,
if you would like to.
or motion to basically table the consideration for the official zoning map, the certified survey map for the Bluff multifamily, and the park development item.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to table the considerations that Dave laid out. Is there any discussion on the motion? Not. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the public hearing for tax incremental district number
Motion to
6.
table
Table
that,
that.
that public hearing
I'll second
and
that.
items.
Did we make a motion?
Table it.
Is it related to
Deny
the
it.
develop?
Well, I can motion to deny or table, because it's gonna come back with that, hopefully the other stuff, but,
Well, I mean,
go ahead, you
we'll
want
have to go
to
start.
present it?
We'll have to start the process over again if you want to. I mean, we have to go through all the public notices and have the public hearing and stuff again, so it's up to you guys how you'd want to do it.
Or we could just do that part now.
If you want to.
I
mean,
can withdraw
we have
that.
to do it
I'll
again.
withdraw it and let's listen to the presentation first.
Okay.
Okay.
We need a motion to open the public hearing then, right?
Make a motion to open up the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to open the public hearing for tax incremental district number 6. Matt?
I will turn it over to Sean. Sean Wentz with Ellers, who's our financial advisor, will present.
Good evening, commission members. The presentation will be up on the screen. It's got a couple different components of it. The first component is just tax increment financing in general. And then what I'll attempt to do here is just more, when I talk about the project, just more this project in general, rather than the specifics that you were just talking about, 3 buildings versus 1 buildings and that. So in that way, I think we can still go through what the tax increment district would look like and how it would be involved in any project that you might go with ultimately on this site. Does that make sense to the commission to try to approach it that way? Okay. So I think many of you are familiar with tax increment financing. It's a tool in Wisconsin law that provides the opportunity for cities to try to use new tax revenue that's generated from a development on a specific site in the community to pay for either incentives or infrastructure type costs that are really necessary for the project to move forward, for it to be an economically viable project. Now, how does that work? Where does the money come from to make tax increment financing work? It's done by capturing new development, the tax revenue from new development, and using that to pay for costs that really get that project to move in the first place. So as an example, if we're talking about the parcel that we've been discussing all evening for development, it's a undeveloped parcel currently. It has a taxable value, land value of about $150,000. That would be the base value if we put this parcel into the new proposed, or the amendment to the existing tax increment district. If an apartment project was constructed up and above that base value and the property was in a tax increment district, the new development value up and above the $150,000 in value that's there now, the tax revenue from that, all of the taxing jurisdictions' revenues from that, would go to a special fund that the city would have, and then that fund would be dollars available to deal with some of the costs to get that apartment project to happen in the first place. Okay, so does that make sense to the group in terms of how the mechanics of tax increment? We're not taking tax revenue from existing value to pay for a particular project. We're directing potential new development directly to pay for costs associated with making it happen in the first place. And the bottom of this particular slide is the key crux to that. It's called the but-for analysis. But for using this tool, it would not be economically feasible for this project to proceed. Okay? Now, the rest of the presentation, those discussions were primarily about how tax increment financing works in general. The rest of the presentation is more specific to this development on the site that we've been talking about this evening. It's a little hard to see on the screen, but on the top part of the aerial is in green is the existing tax increment District 6 in Prescott. That district is a mixed-use district, and it was created in 2024 for the purposes of promoting industrial, commercial, and residential development in the city. What's being proposed is an amendment to that district to get us from the property east, I think it's east of Highway 10, down to the proposed apartment development site. A tax increment district has to be a contiguous area. So the way the boundaries are proposed to be adjusted to bring the whole area into one contiguous area is to go down in the kind of the purple section through the school district property, which has no taxable value because it's school district property, and then going just across Dexter to pick up the undeveloped parcel that we've been talking about this evening. Okay. As I'd mentioned, the existing district, TID 6, created in 2024, you're allowed to do up to 4 boundary amendments, so this would be the first one for TID number 6. And you do have to maintain that at least 50% of the property of the whole area, the original area and the new proposed to be put into TID 6, has to be suitable for mixed-use development. So when we take and add the school district property plus the potential apartment development site, couple it with the existing TID 6 boundaries, which was 100% eligible for mixed-use development, we're still well above that 50%. Okay. Now, the project plan for TID 6 has a lot of project costs in it as it currently sits to develop the property on the east side of Highway 10. One of the projects that has been ongoing out there is the expansion of Foley, as an example. What's proposed to be added to the project plan as part of this amendment are 2 potential project costs. One is incentives that, through an analysis that we worked with the city and the developer on, would be necessary for the apartment project to be economically feasible. That's the $5 million listed in the plan. And then in addition to that, related to the park improvements, the recreational equipment is also an additional project to be added to the existing TID project plan as part of the proposed amendment. So the amendment would change the boundaries and add these 2 project costs. Now, the development that would be projected in TID 6, what you see on the screen here is a combination of the proposed new development from the Cap Vest project, as well as what was in the original TID 6 project plan. So let's focus specifically on the Cap Vest portion, because that's really the core of the amendment. The project, as they discussed it this evening, with the 3 buildings, would have an estimated increase in taxable value on that 3+ acre parcel from $150,000. It would projected to add an additional $15.7 million when all of, again, I'm speaking hypothetically here because of the actions you've already taken, but if we were to have done the 3 apartment buildings plus the parking buildings, or the garage, the parking garage, that would be an estimated $15.7 million in additional development that would create increment value in TID number 6. Now, what the amendment would include as a project cost So what we've done in the plan, amended plan, is we've kept all the original stuff from 2024, but we've added to it the CapVest project. So on the revenue side, we've added an additional 15 million in taxable value being constructed within the amended boundaries of TID number 6. Again, that's that, it would have been the 3 buildings. And then we've included an expense, which is that 5 million in incentives in order to make the project economically feasible. So how do we go through that? Now, the 5 million was a preliminary number. The analysis that we've done working with the city and the developer has an estimated incentive amount of 4.5 million approximately to make the project a project that a typical developer would proceed with and earn a rate of return that's commensurate with the market, what we're seeing in other projects all around the area. Without the TIF assistance, without the 5 million, the project would be below a reasonable rate of return, and then thus, but for the assistance, the project would not move forward. So that's the whole discussion about potentially using tax increment financing for this, is without that assistance, the project wouldn't move forward. Now, the way that the 4.5 million would be paid is proposed to be in what's called a pay-as-you-go incentive. And so I think some of you have heard this discussion before. There are instances where communities will borrow money and say put in infrastructure for an area and then use new development to pay the city's debt back. What's proposed here is the developer would incur all of their costs up front, but they would have an agreement with the city that if they create the 15.7 million in new value, the city would annually collect the new taxes from that and pay them back gradually over time. So what you see on the sheet, it's a little difficult, but there's a column that's not in black, it's in purple. That represents annual payments.
Can you blow that up? I can't see that.
I don't know, is that possible?
Yes, second, I'm trying to find it for you.
Am I the controller?
Do I have it in my packet?
So while you're blowing that up, real quick, the increment they pay, the taxes they pay, above the 150, that full amount would go to help pay off the 4.5 million. Would go to
That is
them.
correct. Yep.
We don't keep a portion because they incurred the expense to develop it.
Yep.
Now, if we would develop it and say, we'll put in all the water and sewer and get it ready for you to build like we do with industrial and commercial, then we collect it and pay off our debt. But we're saying you borrow the money, you hit that 15 million, we will give you that increment to help pay that off that we didn't want to develop.
Correct. So from a risk standpoint, it's a lower risk situation for the city because what you're committing to is collecting the new tax revenue that they generate after they pay their taxes, turning around and paying it back to them. You're not paying the 4.5 million up front, you're paying it over time.
So you guys pay the, just to be clear, because this is a really confusing.
Yeah, sure.
So, just to be clear, the 4.5 million you guys would pay to develop the infrastructure. Is that what I'm hearing?
They would.
The developer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Trevor would pay that.
Sorry.
Out of his pocket.
The developer, not your company.
Yep.
Well, I'm just trying to be clear.
No,
and then once it's developed and once all the people go in there and once
they hit the $15 million,
the taxes, then they're gonna pay us.
No,
then we pay them back from that.
They pay their taxes like we all pay taxes, but their taxes, other than the base value, goes back to them to pay the loan.
95%.
90%. Yeah, and I was just going to mention that.
So their taxes, the taxes that they would pay, go back to pay the loan.
90.
So it's kind of like money
90% of their taxes.
A little bit of money laundering. What are we doing here?
No, it's what they're doing is they're financing it instead of us, and then the TIF is designed that, let's say UNFI says we need housing for our workers. This is one way of providing that, or we need housing in Prescott. This is the way of providing that. Except instead of us doing all the work that we have done with others, we say you put it all in, and the TIF eligible stuff, which is all the infrastructure and the site prep. We don't pay for the building, but the infrastructure and the site prep, is what we would sometimes pay, they would pay that, and we're just gonna sit here, we'll give it back, so we don't wanna borrow the money, you borrow the money to do it.
Got it.
And that just helps grow, and again, is it 2030 this closes out, this TIF?
The TID can, the final revenue collection year is 2045. It's a
So-
20-year maximum period.
And we could if the TIF does well and pays all of its debt off sooner, then we take a $15 million building and put it on the tax roll, which could either help keep taxes down or just not raise them. It depends on how city, the school, the county, everybody decides to
But
proceed.
not till that closes in
Till
2000.
2045. But a lot of ours have closed early because we have been successful.
So,
Sorry, Sean.
yeah, no, I think the discussion helps, I think everybody understand how the mechanics of it work. If you were to enter into an agreement like this, the property is as it is right now, you're collecting tax revenue only on the 150,000. Putting it into the TID, if the project got completed, you're gonna generate a $15.7 million project on that site. That taxes on the 15.7 million are all new. You're not getting that tax revenue right now. What you'd be getting by doing it into the TID and entering in a development agreement, you would capture that new revenue until they're paid back the 4.5 million. The city would only get 10% of it each year. But after they're paid back the 4.5 million, as David mentioned, then the annual tax revenue from that is coming back to the city and the other taxing jurisdictions. Or 20 years runs out, whatever is sooner on that. So that would be the model that's being proposed in the TID, is a pay-as-you-go model that would assist the development in getting to a rate of return that would move the project forward. The other component that we talked about in an earlier meeting with the other taxing jurisdictions is the agreement is proposed to have what's called a look-back provision in it. And what that means is, after the developer would have the project completed and rented up, we would go back and review all the numbers to determine if the assumptions that were made right now were not optimistic enough. And at that point, there could be a reduction in the amount of incentive that's paid if the project ended up costing less to construct, or another option would be maybe the rent revenues are significantly more than what was originally planned when we did the analysis now. So those sort of provisions are included in the discussions and potentially in the final development agreement to ensure that this would be an incentive that is getting the project to a level to get it done, and not a project that's just this extra money to overly incentivize a project. We want to hit that target of what's reasonable to get the project to be able to move forward. Okay.
Could you tell me what discount or interest rate did we use for the modeling? Again, sorry.
Trevor, what was the was it 6%? I think their borrowing rate was 6%. Yeah, I think it was. They gave us a pro forma to analyze, and then we stress test their different cost assumptions against other projects we've seen. And one of the costs was their interest cost on borrowing for the project. I believe it was a 6% interest rate that was used on that analysis.
Okay.
I can see that. I think we got one more page here. Oh, we had to shrink it down. Yeah, thank you. All right. Okay. The last slide of the presentation, and certainly if there's more questions, happy to answer those. As was mentioned, we had a meeting earlier because as part of this amendment to the TID, we also have to involve the other taxing jurisdictions so they understand what's happening with the tax increment district and can ask questions about it. Second step is the Plan Commission public hearing. Now, typically with the Plan Commission public hearing, we'll have a resolution generally at the end, which moves the project forward to the City Council. I don't know if that's going to work today, given your previous decision, but that's typically, at this point, you've held the hearing, you still could come back and deal with a resolution at a later date. We had anticipated, depending on where the Plan Commission was, the fastest we could have moved forward was having it on the council agenda. Next week's meeting on the 9th, that of course can also be adjusted. If over time going forward, the Plan Commission approves a resolution moving it forward to the council, and ultimately if the council approves a resolution approving the amended boundaries and the amended project plan, the process eventually goes back then to the Joint Review Board and they have a final vote on the potential amendment to the tax increment district. So I appreciate everybody kind of bearing with, because this is a little bit unusual that we're dealing more with a hypothetical situation here, given the previous vote, but I think it was a good idea to go through this so you understood how the TID would be involved with this. And again, if there's any questions that I can help with this evening, happy to do so.
I have one more.
Sure.
So just hypothetically, not saying this would happen, but if the building was half-built, economy goes to crapper, what are we on the hook for as a city if we open this up?
In terms of the development agreement, typically the way it works, if they did an incomplete project, they had an agreement that you have to complete the project to get the incentive, that would be, because you're not borrowing any money up front.
Yeah.
It's all pay as you go, you'd be out no dollars on that development incentive agreement.
Okay, thanks, Sean.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you, Mayor and Commission.
So Mayor, the only caveat would be is if you ever intend, I guess, or the city ever intends to utilize this as an incentive in terms of this piece of land, we would want to consider moving forward with this process, because does it have to be specific to this project, or?
No.
Yeah, correct. We've done amendments that, as Matt just talked about, are focused more on targeting a parcel. You could do the amendment, but not ultimately go forward with the project. That's happened, or a different project comes down the road. So it's up to you, but as Matt said, that is an option that the Plan Commission does have at this point.
Either way, you've opened a public hearing, so you've got to move forward with the public hearing.
Yeah.
Gotta say hi to Mom when you're talking.
Me again, Karen Harrison. I just have a couple of questions related to the tax increment one. In this look-back period, the cost might be less, but what if they're more? And if they're significantly more, and it takes longer than the period of time that they're talking about to get their incentive money back, is there a time period when that stops, regardless of whether they get their money back or not? Is it 20 years?
That's Sean, yeah, it'd be 20 years.
20 years, right?
Yeah, it's, the 20 years is the maximum life of the district, and typically any upside risk, sorry. So, first off, the maximum life of the tax increment district is 20 years. And generally, these agreements, what they state is, we will either pay this amount or the TID runs out, whichever is sooner. So that's how that would end. And if they are unpaid at the end, the risk is on the developer side, not on the city side.
And if they spend more and they say, they still only hit that certain level we agreed upon.
Every agreement that I've seen states this is the city's commitment. Max.
Yeah, correct. That answers her two questions.
Just one other quick question. Does this also include the things the city would have to provide, like additional fire hydrants and things that are city-related to the development? Is that part of all of this?
That's the expenses we would allow for the TIF, correct?
Okay, but the developer would front those costs, correct, under
Correct.
this agreement?
Correct.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
So I have a couple questions. I'm not as familiar with the TIFs and TIDs, but just doing a little bit of research. One is I guess, what is the benefit to like the city or a taxpayer in the city to allow like something like this to go through or to be approved?
The benefit is you eventually get a $15 million building that maybe wouldn't be built if we didn't do this to assist them. Okay, it just gets the tax base up higher.
But will my taxes go up because something like this is
Nope.
built and they're not technically, I guess, being fully taxed on it for up to 20 years?
They are fully taxed. That's what people don't understand. They are taxed the same rate you are on that $15 million, exactly the same. It's just the money, other than the value of the 150, that goes to the city. The rest of that value that we collect, the exact same tax rate as you do, goes into either help paying that expense back. And that's in any TIF district. The expense it is, whatever we expense, that money is collected to pay it off. And like we say, if it got paid off sooner and we want to close it, then that comes on the tax roll sooner, and then it should be more to tax and hopefully.
So the area that's being proposed to add to from just kind of looking some stuff up. It says that to be a TID district, part of the rule, I guess, one of them is that the land has to be considered a blighted area.
That's where I'm blighted to.
Yeah.
Oh, Sean will come back up. He's the expert more there. Good point, though.
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. So there are 4 different types of tax increment districts. All of them require that at least 50% of the property that you put in the district meets the tests that the state lays out. What you were describing is a blight TID, so that's one type. This TID that we're talking about here is already created as a mixed-use TID. And so if we added the property, the school district properties plus the proposed apartment site, we would still have a viable mixed-use district with the property that's already in TID 6 collectively. It would still meet that threshold. So that is one type of district, but mixed use works for this particular site.
Stay there 1 second. TID expense, ladder truck?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Sit down.
Good try though.
Sit down.
Can I add though to that?
Yeah.
I mean, the increment you're creating, when you close that district and you get that increment, that is the exact thing. If you're asking for a $1.6 million fire truck, that's exactly what it can go to pay for as a result of the development within it.
Yeah, we both have opinions on that, okay.
Yeah, 20 years from now.
That's what I was gonna say. So just to be clear, like, we would have they'd be taxed on the 150 that it's valued at now for just listen, because this is how my mind thinks, so I have to think about it this way, because I don't know much about these TID or TIFs or anything. So if that piece of land is valued at 150 right now,
We collect that.
we collect that, but anything else above and beyond that that it would be valued at is gonna go back to pay back them for that period of time.
Correct, so they
So
pay
then
taxes.
we will not collect any other taxes on that property for till 2040.
Right, but if we didn't give them this incentive, they would never build. I'm
But,
trying to get that back.
yeah, so basically, okay, so I just need to clarify
Yeah.
that in my mind.
We're building for the future.
Yeah.
It's up to the amount that we agreed
Yeah,
to.
90%.
I just needed to think
Yeah,
about
we
it
only
that
get
way.
10, and 90% goes there until we either meet 4.5 million or 20 years.
Got it.
And we always seem to be ahead of the 20 years.
In the
Correct.
same,
Sorry, was that
Oh,
a
okay.
question for?
Yeah. I said we almost always are ahead of 20 years paying off what we were gonna pay.
Yeah, the history of the TIDs in Prescott, sorry about that. Yes, you've paid most of your TIDs off before their maximum life. Correct.
All right, sorry.
no worries. In listening to the presentation, actually that makes me question, how many TIDs do we have in Prescott? And so what is this history?
Yep. I'll just stay up here. You have currently open TIDs 4, 5, and 6. 6 is the one we've been talking about tonight. 5 is UNFI Patax, is primarily the development, and 4 is the condos down on the river and downtown. Those are the 3 existing districts. The other districts paid their expenses off and have closed, so they're not in existence anymore.
Can I question 5? Looks like it's been closed and you reconfigured and kept UNFI in 6, am I wrong?
You are correct that 6 overlays the UNFI building and Foley's building as well.
Yep.
And
So 5 is still there though?
it is, but it's, I think 2029, I think we're projecting it's gonna
Yes.
pay off. So it's a couple years and UNFI will be back on the tax roll
All right.
at that point. Yep.
So the properties in TID 6 are businesses currently?
So currently, UNFI's in 5 and 6. Foley, there's one other building out there, I forgot the name of the business.
I forget too.
Yes, the
SV Labs.
SB Labs.
Labs, yep. And then the bulk of the remaining property in TID 6 is property the city purchased a couple years ago, going, I think that's south down 10.
West, east.
East, okay, sorry, east down 10. It's not developed yet. So that's in the TID, and the expectation is at some point, as negotiations go forward with potential businesses, industrial and commercial, probably primarily, they would locate in that site.
Correct. So we're extending that benefit to businesses who bring a lot of value to our community. And my point is, so it sounds as though from your earlier presentation, you're allowed to extend those boundaries 4 times. Do you really want to use up one of your times to extend it for Cat Fest? You know, they are not a business. How do you feel about that benefit being given to a developer when they could decide to front the cost of this building themselves and not, they could decide to proceed if you deny this? I have a question. Does CapFest maintain the ownership of the units once they're built?
Yes.
Okay, thank
The
you.
long-term hold company.
Trevor said yes for those that didn't hear on TV.
And so you referenced the plan rent revenues. What would that equate to?
The apartment rents?
Yeah.
I think it'd be better for those guys to answer that than me.
Rents vary depending upon unit type. Pro forma today is $12.50 to $17.50, depending on the unit type.
So does that align with what you were hoping to bring to the community? Questions to answer. And also, descriptions used earlier were make the project economically feasible. Well, that threshold is different for every one of us. And so to put this money back into the pocket of a developer, it just doesn't seem aligned with the way that we would want Prescott to be handled as citizens of the community. Sorry, I was making notes as you were speaking. I just want to make sure that I covered all of them. I believe that covers it all. Thank you.
Motion to close public hearing?
Second.
A motion second, to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
I motion to recommend approval of resolution 0126. Resolution approving amendment to the project plan and boundaries of tax increment district number 6.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to consider resolution amending the project plan boundaries of tax incremental district 6. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, why?
Why?
Yeah. I just wondering your thoughts.
I think at some point this will get developed one way or another, and it's an incentive because, as Sean said, they can't do it without some incentive to help them along. They gotta make a certain amount of profit, like UNFI did, like the tax did, like
And
everybody
we're
did.
not voting on giving them money, we're voting on extending the lines.
Right, and this could be
No, I completely understand
This
that.
could be a totally
I-
different development that
Yep.
comes in. And I just think it's been sitting there this long, this would be one
I just
incentive
missed
to
that,
help
yeah.
somebody. Now, we're not approving it, council ultimately makes the approval, we're just, I think, I would recommend it, just my opinion.
Another one.
Could we, in the future, vote on both these like we were planning to do today in the same meeting?
You go to
Quick, bam,
Could.
bam.
Good, but I feel that this is the right
Motion's been
thing.
made.
Well, this is
seconded.
something that's gonna be needed.
The
anyway.
council makes that decision, so if you object it, you go to
Run
the
for
council.
council.
Say, I
There you
don't
go.
think this is right. I just think it's the right step.
Any other comments?
I don't know. These TIFs are confusing to me and I don't necessarily understand all of the ins and outs of them.
Oh, Matt would, Sean would give you a whole day lesson on it.
God, we should do that.
He
That would
has
be-
nothing better to do.
That would be like a fun team bonding experience.
Now you got Grok.
Okay, we
Yeah, I
have a
know.
motion
Yeah,
on
I
the
just looked
table.
at.
Any other discussion on the motion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, next item on the agenda is Walnut Circle subdivision. Matt?
Thank you, Planning Commission, Mayor. Before you tonight is the preliminary plat, road plans, and development agreement for Walnut Circle. Property being proposed is at the corner of Walnut and Dexter Street. The proposal contains two separate parcels developing, or proposed development within 45.55 acres. This is currently owned by Doug Erickson, who's the developer. Plan Commission previously approved the concept plan for a 9-lot subdivision at their meeting on September 11th, which council approved on September 23rd. The development is unique in a couple features. First is it's a low density with large lot sizes, 9 lots total. Developer is proposing a large land dedication for public parks that addresses the city's comprehensive plan goals. Additionally, the proposed development incorporates stormwater design that remediates water runoff from Dexter Street. Zoning and subdivision of land. Right now our city codes for setbacks are 25, 8-foot minimum, 20 total, and a rear 25. Developer is meeting or exceeding those with the proposal of 25, 10, and 25. Minimum lot is 75 is measured at the rear of the front lot. The standards are being met as shown on the preliminary plat, which we'll get to here in a second. The minimum lot area is 8,500 square feet, and the developer is proposing, like I said, larger lot size of 41,996 square feet for 0.96 acres to 168,443 square feet of 3.87 acres for the largest lot. So here's the proposed preliminary plat. Lot 1 starts here and we go around to lot 9. You can see the dashed lines here are the proposals that they would have to meet the setbacks within the lots. The developer is showing 2 lots. Outlots 2 would be the proposed for the stormwater pond, and then outlot 1 it was too large to show here, but outlot 1 here is in the south that would be proposed for parkland dedication. Street layout and public improvements. Proposing a 600-foot cul-de-sac, which is the maximum per city code. Additionally, approximately 115 feet would be 66-foot right-of-way, and the remaining 480 feet would be 60-foot right-of-way, which meets the minimum for a cul-de-sac requirement. Additional right-of-way grading would be 3-to-1. Typical, what's being proposed is 4-to-1, but 3-to-1 would be the max. We already touched on the length, street length. Minimum right-of-way would be 60 for the cul-de-sac, 66 for 115 feet, 60 as I just said for 485. Cul-de-sac width would be 40 feet radius, 50-foot radius is what's being proposed. Maximum grade of 10%, which meets our requirements for city code. Driveway openings 24 feet. Street width, they're showing a 24-foot wide street width, 10-foot drive lanes on each side, and then those 2 24-inch gutters with curb, which is additionally meets our city code for street development. Due to the narrow streets, the developer is required to incorporate no parking signs. The signs are currently shown within the plan. All signs are subject to Public Works final review and modifications. The one thing that we still would have to look at is just possibility of adding 2 more if we need to. All driveways meet the maximum driveway width of 24 feet. There are 2 streetlights that are being incorporated into this. One streetlight on the south side of the street at the multi-use path entrance into the ravine, and 1 streetlight at the end of the cul-de-sac. Maximum road grade is 10%. Just showing you a comparison of what other streets in terms of their overall slope are within the community. In terms of utilities, water is being added via a 6-inch ductile iron pipe to serve the city water. Sewer is being proposed by individual sewer laterals that would be served by a grinder pump at each property. This was preferred by Public Works and the city engineer as it would remove a costly lift station for only 9 lots. Each lot then and the owner must sign a grinder pump agreement, which would be incorporated in the development agreement, which will be here in a second. Storm sewer has been a long-standing issue due to Dexter Street draining into this property since it was developed in the 1980s, specifically French's 3rd edition. To address the issue, the city and developer have collaborated on a hydrology study to evaluate long-term stormwater solutions. Additionally, the hydrology study was approved by the Wisconsin DNR. This allows us to mitigate water runoff from both Dexter Street and the proposed Walnut Street or Walnut Circle development, and keeps the proposed pond out of the floodplain in that ravine area. So here's a map then showing this highlighted blue area of Dexter Street, where currently the water is running off. You can see just here's where the elevation changes from draining north to draining south. It then drains down into that corner and then into this proposed development property. Over on the right here, then you can see Walnut Circle drains into 4 stormwater inlets. Those inlets then drain into a swale that's going to be rip-wrapped and then drains down into the stormwater pond. Parks, Trails, and Conservation. Pursuant to 51047, the developer is required to dedicate 10% of the land area for future parks, playgrounds, recreation, and open space to meet the needs created by the land division. Based on the proposed development, this requirement would equal approximately 2 acres. The developer is proposing dedicating 23.3 acres, which is over 100% of the development, for future park and open space purposes, specifically for the expansion of the proposed Cooley River Trail system and due to the city's participation in the proposed assistance for the stormwater improvements. The proposed development would include an 8-foot wide multi-use path that runs from the intersection of Walnut and Dexter down the hill to the stormwater pond. This does would align with what we heard back in our comprehensive plan survey. 83% of respondents supported increasing efforts to protect sensitive natural areas. 51% supported their better community connectivity through paths and sidewalks. 67% supported improving park connections through trails or greenways. If this moves forward, then the city would work with Cooley River Trails to make a connection from this development into McGee Park. So what you see here then is the proposed concept plan that was originally put together in 2024. This trail was originally put on the north side of the road, and then it connects down and into McGee Park. These 2 circles are possible bridge connections that the DNR did approve as part of the hydrology study. So that's one thing that we'll have to work with. Jared with Cooley River Trails has already put together a map here that's updated with the elevations, looking at where the possible trail could be. I apologize, I can't really see with this light right now, but basically showing the trail coming down and then connecting down over to McGee Park. The development per City Code 51022, the development agreement is required for all land divisions within the city with installation of public improvements. Developer must supply a letter of credit equal to 120% of the cost of outstanding public improvements. This is valid through a 14-month warranty period. Developer must install public improvements. The stormwater pond, do this pond managing runoff from both Walnut Circle and Dexter Street, and in recognition of the parkland dedication, the city is proposing reimbursing the developer for $197,337 for those improvements. The sewer and grinder pump at each property must install their own grinder pump at their expense, which they are responsible for maintaining due to the elevation. Additionally, per the development agreement, sewer, the city is agreeing to assist in sanitary improvements up to $100,000, and the city will reimburse the developer for construction of the paved multi-use trail. A separate agreement with Friends of Freedom Park / Cooley River Trails, Friends CRT will agree to donate $100,000 to assist toward trail improvements and work to raise an additional $20,000. And as part of that, the city will agree to match that $20,000 raised dollar for dollar from our Parks Improvement Fund for a total of $140,000 to go to a future trail connection. The developer is required to pay outright permit fees in accordance with applicable ordinances and all impact fees. No building permits shall be issued except for lots 4 or 9 and either 3 or 9. All other 7 lots would not be issued building permits until public improvements are approved. The reason this is being done is because specifically the developer would like to build a home out there, and so would like to pull his own permit for starting his own home, as well as working with his business partner from his partner. Additional conditions of approval, I won't go through all of them, but a lot of them, swale design and specifically our engineer comments which are within the memo. So before you tonight is a consider approval of the Walnut Circle preliminary plat and road and erosion control plans, and additionally giving a recommendation on the development agreement between the City of Prescott and the Walnut Circle Development LLC. I'll stand for any questions the Planning Commission has.
I have one. It's about the grinder pump. So in here we have the comment where it says, city may repair system if owner fails or bill property owner. So I was just trying to understand that a little bit better.
So basically, if the property owner who signs the grinder pump agreement basically refuses to,
Okay,
which
you're gonna have
results.
individual agreements with the homeowners?
Yeah, each property has to sign its own
You
grinder.
answered it already. All right, thank you.
And so there's one grinder pump for all the properties?
No, each home has.
So then, does their lateral go just to the property line, or they gotta get up to the hill a certain point?
The lateral goes all the way to the storm.
And they understand that they'll be responsible, they gotta dig up the street to repair it all?
It's gonna run on the side of the streets.
Okay,
I apologize, I should have put that, it's in your
Nope,
plans,
nope,
but.
that's, all right.
And Louis Filkins is with Ogden Engineering, who's the engineer, he can also, if there's questions specifically, I can turn it over to him.
The other thing, I guess my thought is, the developer says he wants to build a house before all the improvements are done, and so his partner, what happens if the economy goes to pot and here they are driving on gravel roads to get to their house, do we want that?
My alley's a gravel. And it's
Huh?
higher than- I said my alley has gravel and it's
Yeah,
higher than
that's
the
an alley. We don't care
elevation.
about your alley up Daily, you know
So,
that.
yeah.
That's my only concern, is because then things go to pot and then it sits there for a while and the city's gotta sort of maintain it, or the other thing in the developer's agreement say, we will not maintain roads, curb and gutter, and they're responsible until they are paved and sit for a year.
That is specifically why we hold the letter of credit to
Yeah.
draw upon to finish
But
the
that's only for
improvements.
14 months, let's say it goes 3 years or better. That's
14 months after the improvements.
Okay, all right, thank you, all right.
Are completed, so.
I make the motion to approve.
Second. First one or both?
Both.
What?
Make a motion to approve the preliminary plat for Walnut.
Yeah.
And Mike seconded, I think.
Yep.
Okay, we have a motion, a second, to approve the preliminary plat and road erosion control plans for Walnut Circle. Any discussion on the motion? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we also approving the developer agreement?
Yeah, I was doing both.
Okay.
That was just my one clarifying question that I had was around the grinder pump, but Matt answered it. So I made the motion for that.
Okay.
I think there are 2 for 1, right?
I'll make
I
a second on the
wasn't-
motion to approve the developers agreement between the city and the Walnut Street properties.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're good. The next item on the agenda is the facade improvement program, 2026 applications. Luke?
Thanks, Louis.
Mayor, thank you, Plan Commission. Updated presentation here.
I know, I'm so excited. That happens.
That's her or Mike.
Me or Mike get in.
Because I'm not running from there.
Kids, right.
No worries. Do we have the applicants for this? Is that what we're going through, the applicants, right?
I think we
So-
No, we're gonna,
looked at them.
we're gonna look at
Technically,
the
there are 3, but-
applicants.
So, for the facade improvement program, it is a 6-year program running from 2025 to 2030, with $50,000 allocated per year for a total of $300,000 worth of investment. The program is meant to enhance the visual appeal and vitality of the downtown commercial district through private and public investment. The funds were designated through tax increment district number 4, and as a result, are limited to C1 commercial districts or the downtown riverfront area. So applicants were required to submit the following, a completed application form and the other applicant materials, including budget breakdowns, quotes, and design and renderings if applicable. All awarded grants are on a reimbursement basis after completion of the project. For the 2026 applications, the city received 5 applications, and so tonight's Plan Commission meeting is giving the commission a chance to review and ask questions for each of the applications. So throughout the month, the Plan Commission, just like last time, will score each project out of 40 points and turn them into staff by March 25th, based off of downtown vitality, aesthetics, character, economic impact, and readiness. So the first applicant is 144 Broad Street. This was an applicant in the 2025 cycle as well. So property owner Josiah Franco and Jerry Voss at 144 Broad Street. Currently the property is vacant with the previous business there being Haywood, Carl, and Anderson. In the description, they said that the property is on Main Street and the corner of Broad Street and Orange Street. The goal is to update the white, broken, damaged windows and doors on the building and replace them with dark bronze windows and door for a more natural and earth tone. Additionally, replace the siding on the second story facing Main Street. The corner of the building north facing on Orange Street will also be replaced with LP Smart siding. Currently, the brick is deteriorating with cracks and falling apart. So their plan would be to tuck point the west and south point of the building and paint it to match the siding. So basically, they replaced the brick on the north side of the building. They are asking for $50,000 of the grant because the project is $127,465. So it is 43% of the budget. The applicant did not supply a financial letter, but did state that they have the funds. They do have a financial letter. Sorry, that was for a different bullet point. Sorry, that's on the wrong slide. The applicant stated the project would start in spring of 2026 with an estimated completion in fall of 2026. So here's some renderings of what they're looking to do on there.
Just to be clear, this was the project from last time, but they are not proposing the LP siding on the north side of the building now, and that picture on the right. So their updated proposal would tuck point and replace the brick, because that was one of the Plan Commission's comments for their last project, so.
Is the brick still gonna be that reddish color? Or are they gonna clean it up?
I'm not sure what the color is. I think it's gonna.
I think it's just natural brick, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, is it?
Or I think you're thinking of the seals where they painted that, whatever.
White.
I don't know what they did.
Shit.
Oh, I
Oh,
know
it was
it was
red for
seals,
a
but
minute.
that one's kind of a strange color to it. I always thought it was painted. All right.
So the next one is 206 Broad Street. So the applicant is property owner Jessica and Todd London of 206 Broad Street. So this is London Bridges LLC. So this project proposes phase 1 restoration, the most character-defining facade elements at 206 Broad Street, one of Prescott's earliest surviving downtown commercial structures. The scope of work includes custom historic reproduction, arch windows, historically appropriate primary entry door system, minor masonry repairs, and commercial grade exterior benches. So with that, only one quote was received for this proposal. They did state that their other contractor was supposed to get them their other quote by the application deadline. They didn't get it, but they did
So
state
why
that
does
they
this
would get
say,
it by.
why this is the same quotes as from the last one?
Yeah, this is the same dollar amount.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think my plan commission presentation got messed up here. Okay, hold on. I do have the correct one on here. So, sorry about that.
206 was 135.
Yep, 135,000 instead of 50,000.
127.
So they are, yes, 135,000, and then they are still requesting $50,000 as a part of that. And then they do have the funds available for the project. So this is what the building currently looks like. So there's some worn down pieces of the brick, and then they want to restore it to its original state here. This is what they provided for that. So for 209 Broad Street, the applicant is property owner Mike Murray. So currently the property is used for first floor commercial and second floor residential, which is permitted per city code. So they intend to update the entire storefront and sides of the exterior, bringing the style up to date and creating a more modern, inviting atmosphere for customers and visitors to Prescott. So they want to repaint and seal the vertical cedar siding on the front of the building, paint the front brick black or dark gray, replace the 2 aging aluminum framed glass doors at the front street entrances with 2 new glass doors with darker black aluminum frames to match the center glass display panels, and then cover over the old siding of the sides of the building with vertical steel while siding while siding to match the siding in the back and the front. So all quotes were included from the various contractors for the steel siding, the painting, and the glass replacement. So this had a total project cost of $17,243.19, and they are requesting a full match, so $621.60. They included a financing letter, and they stated that if awarded, the project would start in May 1st, 2026, and be completed by July 15th of 2026. So this is what it looks like currently. So it has the more gray brick here on the bottom. And then this is what they are proposing, so it's a little bit more of a gray. I guess it's more of a tan. And then replacing siding.
Those two pictures look the same. That's next to the kitchen table.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So, and then there's 231 Broad Street. The property owner is Mitchell Warmington. He owns the Muddy Waters Bar and Grill. So he would like to restore the original building. It is 231 and 227 as part of this. So he wants to restore the original building at 227 to red brick, keeping the original arch windows currently in need of repair. There's stucco over the original brick facade, and they would like to remove this and restore the current brick. So there will be a need for new support beams at the top and middle headers. So as a part of this, on the application, they stated that they would like to have sign and lighting restoration, but because their proposal that they submitted with the application only included the brick restoration, that is what this application is for. It's just for the brick restoration of the building. So it is intended to make it as close to the original building as possible. The proposal and bid that they received for this project is $65,000. So they are looking for a matching grant of $32,500. A financing letter is not included. The applicant stated that this would be received at a later date, and then it's the same thing with the second quote. It was not received, so the applicant stated that they would be received at a later date. This can be factored into the scoring and stuff like that on the applications for each one. So this is what it currently looks like over there. So rundown brick and rundown windows. Same thing here with the stucco siding and stuff like that. And then this is what they're proposing. So trying to get it to as close to the original building as possible. So. And then the final one is the Prescott Historical Society. So this one, they're looking to restore just the building facade, new paint, fixing up the information sign, or removing that, sorry. And they are looking to basically fix up that building that is just there right off of the bridge. So this one, they would scrape the front windows, glaze all areas in need, restore all front windows and prime rusted areas, repaint on the side of the building. So they would restore the bridge side of the building as well, remove the information sign and fill mounting holes, painting the window and door. So this would be a total project cost of $24,000 for their replacement, and so they're seeking a matching grant of $12,000. They included a financing letter. Both bids were received, and since they are tenants of the building, they also had to receive owner approval, which they did provide. So this is just some pictures of the building currently. As you can see, the information sign is pretty worn down, and then there's also some rundown windows and signs and siding and stuff like that. So they're looking for a furnishing on the siding and stuff like that too. So an overall overview of the applications. So in total, $153,121 are being requested in grant money. 144 Orange Street and 206 Broad Street are both requesting $50,000. And so there is $50,000 to be spent. And yeah.
You had money left over from last year, correct or not?
Correct.
Correct. So how much more is that? That's about 8,000, isn't it?
Do we get
Yeah.
to,
I
does
think it went
that
back
get
into the-
allocated to this next year then?
Yeah,
You can
Oh,
allocate
so we
it.
have the extra.
So we actually got-
58,000.
yeah.
Okay.
Do you have to spend that within this next year, Matt, or can it just sit there?
Has to be spent by 2030.
Thank you.
And then, so yeah, we will be providing the scoring sheets for each application here shortly after this meeting. All the application materials for them, and then you guys will just score them on your own time before the next plan commission meeting.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Luke.
The next item is comprehensive plan update, chapter 11 implementation. Take it away, Matt.
Let me wake up Josh quick.
Yeah. Aren't you lucky you were put last?
I know. I feel like this is one of the easier sections, wasn't it? Wasn't it the easy section?
Guys, that's on your packet.
It is, yeah, that's
Do
what
we-
I'm saying.
yeah.
I'll pull it up.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Which one is this one?
You know, Matt, can we have a little break here?
It's up to you guys if you want to make
You know,
a
a
motion, a
couple
second
minutes.
to go into recess for a certain amount of time.
3-minute break?
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Well, sure. Second.
Aye.
Might
Aye, aye.
have to go to the bathroom.
We'll be right
That's what we
back.
gotta do.
That way you can wake up, rub your eyes a little bit, get some coffee. Just kidding.
My heart stop is.
So we're getting close here, and I just want to update the Plan Commission. We originally had a public hearing scheduled for April 6th, but there was a couple things that we thought we'd just kind of maybe hit pause on, and we'll talk about that after we talk about the implementation chapter. So we do not have that scheduled. We would have had to have that notice in by Friday. That's a 30-day notice, and we just felt a lot of stuff going on. Maybe it's a good idea to just take a look at between the housing projects and the wastewater treatment stuff, a little further analysis before we wrap this up. But we're close, so which is good. So we are on the implementation chapter here towards the end, and the chapter itself is a lot of boilerplate stuff. This isn't anything too profound. We're basically talking about potential implementation tools. So this is pretty standard that you're going to use for implementing your comprehensive plan. Regulatory deals with things like the zoning code, subdivision code. And I know that's going to be hard to read, but shoreland zoning, official map, ordinances, sign ordinances, all things that you guys generally have in place. Historic preservation ordinances, access control, floodplain, and I know I have that repeated on the previous page, so I'll correct that. And just in general, your code of ordinances that deal with all sorts of things beyond just the zoning and the subdivision stuff that the Plan Commission usually deals with, but all the things that Matt has to deal with, and clerks and all the other stuff, public works people. The next item is really non-regulatory, so you're dealing with just your planning documents that you're reviewing. So your comprehensive outdoor rec plan, you guys have a pretty current one, your comprehensive plan that we're updating now, potential transfer of development rights, transportation plans, other information education tools, then your financial, one of which we talked about pretty heavily tonight, the TIF, tax incremental financing, and your CIP, and then of course your impact fees, which you guys do have in place for development projects to help recapture some of those costs that developments have on your community. So the existing tools that you have already in place, comprehensive plan, zoning code, your corp, driveway ordinance, code of ordinances, shoreline and floodplain zoning, subdivision ordinance, capital improvement plan, transportation plans, and impact fees. The things that have to be consistent, I think we've said this before, with your comprehensive plan are your zoning ordinance, your subdivision ordinance, your official map, and your shoreline wetland zoning. So those are the only ones that have to absolutely be consistent. As you see with the appendix or the table on here, there's, I don't know, I didn't even count them, there's probably 100 and some different policies that we could do. That's why we put Matt and Luke through the ringer, had them prioritize most of those. So if you see on the right-hand column of that, there's priorities and who's generally responsible. But the statutory requirements for the consistency requirement is the comprehensive plan has to be consistent with those 4 other documents. The rest of it, it'd be nice, you should try to do it. Other things such as like your comprehensive outdoor rec plan are important to update just because it makes you eligible for grants, things like that, or it gives you a better scoring for grants. So other statutory requirement things in this plan, roles and responsibilities. Primarily we list the Plan Commission and City Council as your primary roles for administering and following through with the comprehensive plan, but staff is ultimately has a lot of the heavy lifting behind the scenes as well. The statutes also require that we address how this plan could be updated. It's sort of odd because the statutes already require that if you're going to update the plan, you're going to go through the exact same process as a creation or amendment. So, but we do spell out what the requirements are. Generally, you're going to be adopting a public participation plan. And you're going to have go through the amendment process, review that, make a recommendation, hold a public hearing, make a recommendation to council. Council would adopt it via an ordinance. And then, as I mentioned before, the implementation. Go ahead, Bailey.
I'm just like looking at this table right now, and I'm like, okay, explain the table to me one more time as I read. Develop a youth entrepreneurial fund. I'm just trying to figure out, there's just a bunch of stuff that's in here. I'm like, this is regulation again?
So where was that one?
It was on, page 96 of 102 of my packet, but I think it is.
I think the only thing these are the ones that they were dealing with.
Just the yellow one, right? So the other ones that are not highlighted. Okay.
But we're not working on.
But are all these other things then driven by another organization or entity basis?
So most of these things are ones we've discussed already.
Okay, that's where I was like, is this?
Yep, so if you look at, they're all broken down by So the element is to your left, that's the chapter that we talk about.
Yeah.
The goal
Yeah,
is the second column, I see a couple of them are cut off, so I'll have to add those. And then the recommendation or policy essentially is what's the middle column. And
Yeah.
so those are the ones that we've
Got
already
it,
kind of,
got it.
I guess, not vested, but it went through and kind of made sure that, now, we can, having these all in one place helps. This is why
It
we do this
does.
exercise, as you can see, man, are these really necessary? Does this really make sense? And so I think it's good, and I'm not going through all
This
these
is wild,
tonight, you know,
yeah.
you got 32 minutes but I wanted to show and explain this table because I also pause on getting the public hearing going because there's a lot of stuff in here. And there are priorities, and Matt has, and Luke have looked at these and selected, you know, what they feel is a priority or a range of priorities from short-term 0 to 5 years, mid-term 6 to 10 years, and anything long-term 11 years or greater. So, and some of these we have to have in here, so by statute we have to do. Some of these things we could simply get rid of. You know, if we feel like this is, you know, man, we have a really heavy load of, you know, long-term things that we really don't think are gonna be relevant, you know, maybe we cut it out just because the more you see these things and the more the policies that there are, the harder it is that we're not gonna get all these things done. We might get 10 things done in here in 20 years or 10 years, to be honest. So, but these also, but you don't know what kind of projects are gonna come in before you. So you have to have a kind of a tool chest or a lot of policies to look at, to consider when these things do come before you. So, that's how this table works, and this is, so between the land use, future land use map and this table, that's almost what you need for your comprehensive plan. You don't, I mean, you can go back and look at some of the demographics and the inventories and things that we did, but really essentially this is the meat of what we've spent the last 14 months putting together. So I know that there may be some things in here, like I said, that's what I'm asking, kind of maybe some homework for the plan commission. You have this list, take a look and, you know, see if there's things on here that are redundant or that you don't feel are necessary. You know, worst case is it's in a plan and you don't like it, well, you don't do it. You know,
Plus, we revisit this every 10 years, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you
So
can
this
review,
is like a
we've
10-year.
actually updated it more recently than that. A couple of years ago, we had that bypass. So, I mean, you have to update it every 10 years. You can update it every year if you want. Or if you want to take a simple a strategic look and focus on one chapter every 2 years and say, hey, you know, and then you don't really have to do a major update every 10 years. You could say, every 2 years, we're going to look at 2 chapters, we're going to go through it, and you can do an update that way. So-
And that's what the time frame is that what that's indicating, like a review period or a time to
Just,
implement?
well, the timeframe is for each policy. So
Okay,
like
okay.
each policy, so like, let's say create a policy to minimize the use of persistent pesticides on public lands and near public buildings. Short term, 0 to 5 years, we hope to get that done.
Oh, I see, okay, thank you.
Yep, and then who would be responsible would be the Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Department, would be probably the ones leading that charge. That doesn't mean that they're gonna do all the work, and it's just basically potential lead groups is what we have listed. So we're not tying anybody's hands or limiting anybody. If another group wants to take it on, they certainly could. There could be a nonprofit or something like that that focuses on environmental causes or something, so. So that's kind of how that's how this table works. I know it's overwhelming, it's a lot, you know. So like I said, I didn't want to go through a lot of it today, but if there's something that stood out and you said, hey, this is just, you know, we've gone through this, but this is just too much, we don't need this item.
I guess looking at the table, I'm getting that feeling right now. It's just like, it seems like a lot to manage. I mean, like, this is a lot. I mean, we have a small staff.
Yeah.
I mean, we're part-time council and what have you, so I feel like, I could be wrong, but if you're saying we need these little toolboxes for future use for development and stuff, I mean, that's understandable. I mean, just a few of them I've read where I'm like, did I miss that? You know, in one of the reviews that we looked at? So there's just a few in there where I'm like, really?
Well,
So,
and
yeah.
if you have a list or throughout the month or whatever between now and the next meeting, you just jot down, just say, hey, these are.
I can send it.
Yeah, any one of you, if you have some concerns, like I said, it's too much to probably go through here, and there could be something that I missed. I'm certainly capable of that, or didn't X out when we were talking about some things in the past. So we'll double check. We'll go through it. We'll get Matt an updated list so you can see the goals and stuff, and then any feedback would be welcome. Like I said, I know it's a lot, but That's essentially the final piece. And then the goals, objectives, and policies for this chapter, at the end of the chapter, before that last table, we have the goal is to maintain a relevant and useful comprehensive plan so the city can grow and develop over the next 20 years in a planned and orderly way. Objectives, identify and complete implementation recommendations in the Prescott Comprehensive Plan. And then policies would be consider forming an ad hoc committee to review and implement review implementation schedule annually to gauge implementation progress and make recommendations for revision if necessary. So this would be where, if you had a group, sometimes there isn't a lot to do sometimes with the Plan Commission, and there's, like, what could we do? Well, this would be something to do. Create a list of local and area groups, organizations, and committees that could potentially help implement Prescott's comprehensive plan and meet with them regularly to discuss and coordinate these activities. Review the implementation recommendations to evaluate progress for implementing the plan and identify alternative strategies to achieve the recommendations. Use a variety of methods to solicit public opinion during the plan implementation process, including surveys, neighborhood meetings, use of city's website, community events, and open house meetings. Consult annually with other governmental agencies and neighboring communities to get their input regarding how their community activities relate to the recommendations of the comprehensive plan. Perform a review of the entire comprehensive plan at least once every 10 years. Revise sections of the plan that are determined to be most out of date and sections that are not serving their intended purposes. And perform a complete update of the comprehensive plan every 10 years. So that's essentially the implementation chapter. All right. Any questions on that or
That one's
concerns?
straightforward, at least.
Yeah.
The other ones are more of you.
Good. Well, it's a lot, and that's why we hide it from you till the very end. All right, on to the issue at hand, and this was pretty germane to what was discussed tonight. So we talk with staff a lot, and we talk about different projects, and it wasn't until I was talking about the wastewater treatment plant last week, and with internally, and someone brought up all the number of housing projects kind of collectively, how many housing units we're looking at in the next, year, or next couple years. And so I looked at the projections and I was like, well, and so the 2020 to 2024 American Community Survey data just came out in January. It came out a month late, but with government shutdown, it just came out in January. So we were able to look at that and look at the 2025 Department of Administration population estimate. We are already past our projected housing or population projections for the next 25 years. So when we looked at, if you rewind back 14 months ago and I said, hey, we're going to look at the population projection just came out, the DOA has a negative outlook. Everybody's going to lose population except for the major urban areas in the state. How do we want to handle that? And we said, well, let's look at a 1% per decade growth rate. So at least we're having some modest growth, but we weren't really sure. And we had looked at 1% and 2%, and we thought, well, 2% might be a little aggressive, but we thought 1% would be good. Well, we're already close to the 2% projection by 2050. By 2050's 2% projection was 4,598 people. According to the DOA's population estimate last year, we were at 4,559 people. So we're 40 people basically short of our 25-year population projection. So either nobody's going to move in or our projections are going to be considerably off. And with the addition...
How is that possible?
With the additional households that are projected to come into the community, the 300 homes or plus, we're going to blow well past that. So I didn't want to adopt a plan where we had, really had a shortfall. Because if you look at the 2020 numbers, so if you look at that top table, and I should zoom in on this. So if you look at the top number, so back in 2010, when they took the census, the Department of Administration in 2013 came up with these projections and said by 2020, the city of Prescott is projected to have 4,555 people. Well, when we did the 2020 census, those projections kind of got turned on their head based on, birth and death rate and all these other things that have changed in the last 10 years. or longer, but has started to become more obvious in the last 10 years. They said, well, we see a decrease in population, and the actual 2020 census data was 4,333 people, so lower by 222 people. So then the projection, which is fine. The DOA, they don't have crystal balls, they're demographers, they do the best and that they can, and it's not meant to be accurate, but it's meant to be an estimate. So we were short by what the 2010 projection was. Well, now fast forward to 2025, and we're actually well beyond the projection from the, can I see them? Okay. So in the 2020 census, so the most current data projected the city to lose population. So by 2050, we had about 4,318 people. So slight increase, and then a drop. So that's just, again, their projection. And we were concerned about that, but we said, let's have a modest growth rate. So when I did the numbers, we had a modest growth rate of, we said 1% seemed reasonable, 1% per decade. So 4,464, well below the 2010 census projections, but above what they were most recent projections, saying we don't feel we're going to be as high as we were in the 2010 census, but we also feel like we're going to grow instead of shrink. And so, but my concern came up when we're looking at, the current households. We have 4,559 people today, which is already above what our 25-year projection is, and our household numbers are at 2,250. And we are well above the projected households for in 2050 by a significant margin, 165 homes. We're already above our 25-year projection. So we had a big increase this last year. I mean, recent, at least the American Community Survey. Again, it can be off by percentage points significantly, but I think this is somewhat realistic. We do have an increase in housing. And we're projected to have even more. So I wanted to bring this to the Plan Commission before we get, finalize the plan and say, okay, our 1% is probably way too conservative. Our 2% might be conservative. If you look at the numbers, we're actually at a 5% or a 1% per year growth rate right now. So since 2020, we're actually growing at a 5% increase in population in the last 5 years. So it's a lot. I realize you're not going to continue to see that projection for the next 25 years likely, but we're looking at major housing projects. Major housing projects are going to bring in people.
I'm surprised they're off by that much, actually.
I am too.
I'm not gonna, because I'm like,
Well, I think it's just because people are moving out of the big cities.
And they're coming to God's country from Minnesota.
Yeah.
Is it,
That's what I did.
This is totally off topic, but then is the school district
West
looking at
Virginia.
this too? Is the school district looking at this?
They get the same data.
I'm sure they get the same thing, but there are fewer kids per household.
Well,
Even
if
with
you
the
look at that number on the
population.
right, we have people per household. So this was even more of a stark drop than I would have ever envisioned. So again, American Community Survey data. So back in 21, we had 2.27 people per household. We're down to 2, according to the current data. Number of households and people. That's a massive drop. It doesn't sound like a quarter of a person. That's a big drop.
You're off by a little bit. I don't know who their statistician was. But.
So. Again, I don't love this data, but I think it's at least something to work, to say, hey, we need to revisit these projections because I think we're off by a significant amount. And I didn't want to have a plan published in May and say, well, we're already blowing past our projections and we're not, could these numbers hold flat by 2050? Not really, because we're going to add projecting to add 300 more homes. So how do if that's the case, then we're going to have 1.5 people per household. And that's, not likely. So I don't have an answer. I think the answer is to increase the population projections or maybe see if we can get drill down a little bit more and see if we can get a better number on the households. But I think the population holds pretty true. If in 2024 we had 4,503 people, it's reasonable to think we have 4,560 people in 2025, and that's already a problem for our projections. So,
Can't we just up them? We only gotta be right for 10 years,
Well-
we get to revisit.
You can, yeah, you
We
can.
can visit in 3 years zone update if we'd like.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and the challenge that we have is the census is gonna be done in 2030, presumably. The additional, we still don't have the household projection number from the state. So I think when that comes in, that's gonna use the 2020 data, and that's gonna make it, that's gonna be way off.
The way that they're analyzing this is a little funky. So like they're looking at, for a population of our size of 5,000, their variation or their coefficient of variation is not where you'd want it to be. I say like this is like extremely reliable for smaller communities. It's more reliable for larger ones. So I think like we could put like our own, what we think that variability is when we get numbers from them and be like, okay, it could be anywhere from here to here based on these factors.
And I think that's fair, and what I've seen in
Yeah.
other communities, especially when you're the close proximity to the Twin Cities. So St. Croix County is gonna be a fast-growing community. The state doesn't really account for that very well. I don't know why, but they don't as well. They show it growing, but I don't think they show it growing at the anticipated, like when the St. Croix County looks at the data and puts their statistics together, they're like, this is unrealistic. We're going to go well past that. So I don't think they take into the account the development pressure that the cities provides, the Twin Cities. And so I think that's we have latitude here. We're not stuck to, and we're never planning on using their 2020 census data just because we knew that's unlikely to happen. I didn't know how far off we'd be from that so soon. But again, we were looking at this 14 months ago. Years happened, and we've got all these projects. There's this interest here. Now, as you mentioned, who knows what the economy's going to do? Could these things, projects not come to fruition? Potentially some, but I doubt that all of them will. I mean, there's going to be some growth in housing. You need it. That's the reality of the situation. And I just wanted to give a pause now. 2% also seems too low. I mean, you could go 5% per year, 0.5% per year. We could run that projection and see that'll bump it up a bit. Because I think maybe by 2050 there might be something that happens. Most communities show growth through 2040. It's after that things start kind of falling off a cliff. So you don't want to be too high on the projections because then you're gonna, you still have to have infrastructure and services and things like that that provide that, and you don't want to sit all of a sudden you've got all these subdivided lots that are sitting vacant because nobody built there because you said, well, we're going to have 1,000 new people and you only get 200. So
That could happen.
2030, just based on it's basically adding in the factors of how many impact fees that we're getting, basically. So it's looking at the rate of how many permits we're getting pulled. 2030, they're looking at 4,900 to 5,000 residents potentially, and then that's 2030, and then 2040 is 5,000 to 5,100. 2050, it says there is no reliable data to make that projection. So I don't know. But yeah, that's off from what they are stating.
Yeah, I think the impact fees were largely based, I think, on the 2020,
Were they?
2010 census data.
Okay, so that's 15 years
So
old
then-
already.
I think, I don't know if I'm right, the fee analysis, or what do you call it?
Impact fee?
Impact fee
Public
assessment.
facilities needs assessment.
I think it was looking at the previous comp plan, which was using these numbers.
I think they were trying to mix the two. I think because the new data wasn't out there, trying to find out.
Like
I'd have to go back, it's been a while since I've
Yeah.
looked at them.
So there, yeah, even then, again, we're not obligated to use the state numbers, it's just as a benchmark to use. In the past, we used to. If you look at, the 2010 data, we projected growth. Everyone was projecting growth.
And we
that's
used
just,
1%, yeah.
which, yeah, 1% per decade. So it's
Yeah.
just kind of, but even that, it's a slow growth, but it seems feasible.
Yeah.
Especially when you're looking at the Department of Administration shows us a decline and, so we're still beating that. And so you want to have some kind of a modest growth projection. I don't know how you plan for a reduction in population. I don't think that's what we want to do.
you don't build treatment plants or water towers.
I will say this too, I didn't realize that we're at 300, I don't know what they had for capacity for the sewer. I was kind of surprised. I was like, wow, we're kind of encroaching that a little bit. I mean, there's still room to grow, but like you look at our water tower.
Yeah.
But you look at the sewer, you're like, hey, that's encroaching that number a little bit, like what safety factor do we need to have in there with that? I know we've been talking about a water treatment plant for a while, so anyways. Forever. Yeah.
So I guess, I mean, we can do whatever we want, kind of, but I just wanted to bring this point up because this will have an impact on our land use and other projections that we have in the plan. So it isn't just this data table that we're gonna be going back and tweaking, I think, but I just wanted to say, you know, if we wanted to do, I think 3%, you know, or you know, even 5% per decade, that's 0.5% per year. Take a look at it and we can revisit numbers. Just wasn't sure.
And do we have to have 2050 on there? Is that a requirement or no?
No, we need 20 years. So,
Yeah, okay.
and every other thing is 10 years, so yeah, I think
okay.
it's.
Why won't you?
We were just kind of throwing a dart at the wall anyways at that rate, so maybe we could
A
throw a
little
number out
bit,
for percentage.
unfortunately.
I would think that you, like, what's, you said we were growing at like 1%?
Right
a
now,
year?
we're growing at about 1%.
Why wouldn't we just
per year.
continue to kind of use that number? I guess would be my thinking.
Well, I mean, we could, and we could run those numbers and see where we're at. I think that's gonna really inflate in 25 years, because I think there is a likelihood, based on the birth rate, death rate, there is a likelihood to see a decline in population after that 2040 mark. And you don't wanna be.
Do like 1% till 2040 and then just bump her down and can you do
And
something like that?
we can do whatever. I think you could take a look at it. I think the numbers will be higher than, I mean, that 1% per year is way higher than these numbers. So, I mean, we had a big shift from, you know, we had a 220 people in 5 years. So you keep adding that amount plus a coefficient, you know, exponential rate, it's gonna jump a lot. But I could show you what that looks like, and
I just don't see, I mean, for a minute here, I don't see it slowing down just with the stuff that's coming in. The houses and the complexes and.
depends if stuff gets approved.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it could be a short-term jump until these developments, and then maybe,
Does make me wonder about.
or is there gonna
zoning
be
map.
a full
Well, it
depression?
always ebbs and flows. I mean, from,
You never know.
you know, I've seen in any type of housing, people say, oh, we need apartments. So then, you know, people hear that and then you start building apartments. We need elderly care facilities. And then, so, you know, if you have a good housing study, a good comprehensive plan and things like that, and a great location like Prescott is, I mean, you're gonna have development pressure, but it's not gonna all be ramped up, you know, the next 20 years. There's gonna be ebbs and flows of it. There's gonna be things that say, okay, there's, you know, we had I don't remember when the big subdivision was, the second edition that we're doing, whatever the.
Most property.
Great
Yeah.
Rivers.
When was that done?
It's done.
It's in the process.
No, but when was that originally
Well,
platted?
started.
2004.
2004?
So, I mean, yeah, it's 20 years, and now we're just about wrapping up, and then we're gonna have another phase of it. So it's, I mean, all those homes aren't gonna come in the next, you know, 2 years, but certainly could have a lot.
Well, the contractor is projecting 5 years to do it. So 25 homes basically a year.
Yeah.
24.
So,
Prescott has ideal. Who doesn't want to live here? It's a nice
Because
community.
Kate lives
The
here, that's
taxes.
why.
so we can do 1% per year. I'd like to do one more conservative. I mean, we could do 0.5% per year, and just see what that looks like.
I don't know if I'd go with 1.
0.5% it is.
Yep.
I
0.5%.
agree.
Let's continue.
0.5%'s
Yeah,
great.
because that's still 5 over 10.
Okay, and we'll update that and get that in front of you, see what that
Said
looks
it
like.
maths out.
Yeah.
But I mean, thankfully, when we did our land use exercise, I don't think we have to revisit the future land use map regardless, because there's lots of acreage for future growth. We had planned out beyond the boundaries, so we're in good shape.
Hey, that would be a great spot for that place to go. Down by the highway.
So,
geez.
no, I just, so yeah, like I said, just wanted to cover that before we had the public hearing and then had to
Redo it.
reload on that. So appreciate the dialogue and the late night.
Hey, thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Kept you here so late.
Okay, then, next item is other business. Next meeting's Monday, April 6th at 6 o'clock.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned.
Everybody was excited about it.